The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Am I Mental, a live weekly podcast where real people share real stories about living lives with mental health issues and things that impact mental health. I'm your host, E. With us, as always, is our co-host, C.
Hello.
And only C. Bexy is having a flare-up tonight. Good chance that she's going to be active on Twitter, maybe on Facebook, might even pop into the chat. She can't stay away, but she's suffered pretty bad. And our guest did not show right now. They were on in season 1, the CJ, and they wanted to come back on and talk about domestic abuse, them having been a victim of it, and now that they live in a great situation with a wonderful husband and full family and everything, wanted to get into more detail because before we only had 45 minutes. That's about enough time to get the gist out and then you're done. So we really wanted to have her back. I have a feeling that she thinks that she may have forgotten that we start an hour earlier than we did back then, even though I did send a reminder. But again, I get it. Life's busy. A lot can be happening and it's easy to forget. So if she jumps on, we will go ahead and bring her on, and we'll start from there. We'll still have about 2 hours to go, if that's the case.
It's true.
In the meantime, well, we could talk about COVID. It's in my house.
Sure.
So, yeah, the wife started out feeling like she had a little bit of a cold, and then it turned into a pretty bad kind of cold. And she went to work, and they gave her a rapid test, and the rapid test came back positive. Now, the rapid tests do have a history of failure, usually false negatives more than false positives. So the next day she went in and she got the PCM test, whatever it is. The one that takes more time is way more accurate. The one where they stick the cotton swab up your nose, basically. So she did that, and it was almost exactly 48 hours later, she came back positive. But at this point, she was already starting to feel better. However, she's isolated to the bedroom. She's wearing a mask everywhere she goes. She has sanitizer that she's doing always sanitizing her hands. And, making sure that she's doing the best that she can to not get anybody sick. Being a nurse, she's really good at infectious control. For the most part. She also has ADD, and the house is not work. So sometimes there's that little, I'm at home. Oops, crap, I forgot. I got to go get my mask. But I've been sleeping out in my office, where I'm broadcasting now. Because, no. I'm overweight. I have high blood sugar. And my blood pressure is a little bit high. Yeah, I would say that I'm not exactly at the most at risk, but I'm definitely not the healthy category where it should be okay. We are fully vaccinated. My littlest has probably the nastiest cold I've ever seen. We did do a test on him. The test came back negative, but I'm afraid that we didn't get a good enough sample because the swab that they use is for adults. They don't have a kid-sized swab. And we're talking about a 4-year-old. Their nostrils are really tiny. You could plug their nostril with a Jelly Belly. It's not very big. And the cotton swab really hurt him trying to get it done. So I don't think we got a good enough sample. I'm pretty sure he actually has it because you have to have a good enough sample in order to do it. And it's really hard to tell looking at the cotton swab. Unless the thing's completely covered in boogers, it's hard to tell if you got a good sample or not, just by looking at it. The daughter and myself, we have our test coming up tomorrow, so we'll see how we're doing there. But yeah, it's been a challenge. My couch sucks. I could pull it out to a height of bed. I just don't want to because it takes up the entire office. So yeah, add that with all the rain and the SAD. Oh man, it has been a week. Yeah, and I got a message already that someone was really looking forward to this episode. Yeah, so was I. It is Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And we were going to end it with someone who, like I said, just if you go back, check out their episode from CJ. It's really good. I just wish that we had more time back then.
Right.
So, see, how about you? How you doing?
I'd say things have been going all right. Oh, also, I just wanted to say I hope the tests come out negative. I'm hoping you guys will do all right.
Yeah, I really don't know if there be people like, dude, that are friends. Dude, I hope you get positive on your test.
Right. Right.
Because positive is passing, right?
Passing the test that you need to pass, I guess.
Yeah, I can't imagine someone goes there and they're swabbing their nose going, fuck, I hope I get COVID. I hope this is positive.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone had a kink for that now.
Dear God. Do we have to do Rule 34?
Rule 34 COVID-19?
Yeah, if it exists. ... No exceptions.
Yep. Exactly.
And I could say, having researched that a little bit, there really is no exceptions. There are people out there that's what they do, is they look for what's been missed just to make sure there's no exceptions.
Yep.
There's a small army of really twisted people out there. God bless them. And at the same time, God damn them.
Brilliant people, but it's...
Right? It's like,
I know
you're wasting your potential, but I can appreciate it. Even if it's not really my thing.
It's like, it's really good drawing quality. But why this?
And yes.
Oh, man, I can't judge, though.
Even 9/11, I saw it, yeah. There was a photo of the towers as one was already, like, Tower 2, I think, had already collapsed, and Tower 1 was starting to collapse. And someone saw in the clouds and was able to just draw it out, and I can never see that picture the same now. If it exists, no exceptions.
I'm glad I haven't seen that one. But anyway, yeah, I've been doing pretty good. My depression's been under control, I would say. The only thing that's really going on is my anxiety has been kicking up a lot, but that's basically it. I would say everything's been all right.
That's good. I mean, we've seen you when you've been down.
Oh yeah, I can get very, very down.
Yeah. You've seen me when I'm down. I'm very good at hiding it when I'm on the air. But yes. And Brandy was, hoping that my wife gets better soon. And I've done one of those swab things. It's not fun at all. Yeah. And I potentially have a deviated septum, so this is going to be really fun for me.
Oh.
And also, Brandy said, my doctor has officially banned me from all forms of caffeine, including chocolate, and has instructed me to go to sleep as close to 8 as possible. I'm of the opinion it's time to get a second opinion, because chocolate is life. I'm sorry. I feel like, what other options do you have, Doc? Going to bed at 8, I could try, but my kids don't like to go to sleep at 8. Other forms of caffeine, it'll take some time to wean off of it, but I can do it. But chocolate? I need something else. I'm sorry.
Give me another option, please.
Right. Dang, I don't really have a lot to talk about tonight.
Me neither.
I mean, we could...
I will...
Oh, go for it.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No. You actually had something it sounded like.
No. Yes, but you were going to say something.
Oh,
anyway.
We got a reply. Going,
Oh?
Was this for tonight? I'm like, yes. The Zoom meeting. So we might actually
busy.
We might actually get this episode going here.
Woo! Yay!
Come on, CJ, come on.
Brandy said, lol, I've been dealing with sleep issues. My sleep apnea is treated. This is their solution to my falling asleep at work.
Oh! Well, I mean... Maybe get a job that's interesting? I'm just kidding. We've talked about your job, and I know that's like, it's where you want to be, but there are some things that are just like, oh God. However... I can say with the utmost confidence that where you're at now is way better than where we met. Because, fuck. I actually saw a job posting for them, and I had laughed and went, no. No. It paid better, finally, but no. The company that I worked for before them, they had a job posting that was paying considerably more than what I was making before. But I was like, how in the fudge are they able to afford that? Last I heard, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Something's not right.
Kind of sus.
Yeah.
As the kids would say.
Right.
Did she reply back?
Yeah. Now? Like, yeah, we are live now.
Can she make it?
I hope so. Oh, yeah, here she comes.
All right.
Got the reply. Fuck. Coming. And of course, the dirty side of me is going, are you breathing hard? Yeah, actually, it was funny, Brandy, is that I just applied today for a position at a school district that's kind of in the foothills. Town of about 3,800 people. Pays well for tech support, too. Yeah? Gimme that. I also have 2 other jobs that are looking like pretty positive coming up here. That one for the state that I was looking at I was in a holding pattern for. Yeah, it fell through at the last freaking minute. It fell through. But I have all these other things popping up now suddenly. So cool. One of them is potentially working on meteorology software.
Oh.
And I love meteorology, so that would be awesome. Another one, it's a complete work from home. Their office is located in Fargo. I actually got to talk to their director of sales and customer support or customer services, who's in Texas. I'd be working from California. It doesn't pay nearly as good as some of the other jobs, but this one is 100% remote work, which means, yeah, I could pack up my stuff, go somewhere, and still get paid. Go down to going down to San Diego for a week, gonna work while I'm at it, getting paid.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, that's cool, Brandy. Just said that my school district may be looking for a systems admin in the near future. I could probably do that. I mean, where we worked, we did everything. I mean, we literally did everything. We went from like server admin stuff, where it's like, user accounts, like adding new users, deleting users when they've been terminated, changing passwords, setting up their storage, networking, all that jazz. Set up their phones, all remotely. And then there's a company I worked for after that where I actually had to take Microsoft Small Business Server and fully get it running with Exchange, web server, Active Directory, everything. It was nuts.
Sounds like it, to be honest.
But yeah, definitely it said that when the job gets posted, I'll get the details. And it's always nice to have that inside track, because a lot of times with the jobs, especially like with tech and stuff, it's not necessarily what you know, but who you know. Because the what, anyone can learn. And good day, Richard. How you doing?
Hello, Richard.
Aha! Guess who's joining?
CJ?
CJ! Alright, let me go ahead and rename you.
He's doing his job at home. Discord.
CJ, you made it!
Hello.
Work late, and then I took a shower, so I look all, fresh and clean, but I'm glad I got your text.
Right? Yeah. I was like, maybe I should have said something sooner, just to, as a reminder. I'm going to have to start doing that.
Listen, I have an ADD brain. That's how this should work, but I'm here.
Yeah. Well, do you know how many people with ADD it takes to change a light bulb?
They all run away, so none. I don't know.
Hey, let's go ride bikes.
Yeah.
All right, so you definitely made a point of making sure that you came in October.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is
Domestic Violence Abuse Awareness Month.
And you have the very personal story, which you shared in a 45-minute episode in season 1, and now we have 3 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah. We don't always go the full 3 hours. Actually, as a matter of fact, C, our newest co-host here, was the first one to hit the 3-hour mark. And there was still more to go. So, yeah, this time you can go ahead and go into the nitty-gritty. If we go on tangents, it's not that big a deal. We don't have to, militantly be on topic the entire time.
And this is the first time I'm doing the Zoom. So do you only see the chats or do we?
Oh no, the chat room is just us. You'll see C disappear off the screen like that to go check the chat. And I actually have a console that shows me the chat while I can look at everything.
Okay.
But yeah, we deliberately make sure that you don't do the chat thing, so that way we can read it off with names.
Yeah.
That way, if listeners are catching up later and listening through, I don't know, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, whatever, because we're on a lot of things. They don't get the chat transcript. Just answering a question out of the blue is not helpful. So, yeah.
I meant, do we get to see the chats while you're reading them, like on Sprecher and stuff like that, or?
I mean, if you really wanted to jump on Sprecher, you could, but
Yeah.
we try to let you. We try to do it where we moderate it. Yeah, because I mean, there's times that there's side talks going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, Richard just said, "E, make sure not to tell her about Fight Club."
Fight Club? What's the first rule of Fight Club?
I'm not
Never
gonna-
talk about Fight Club.
Yes.
I broke the rule.
And the second rule of Fight Club.
Don't talk about Fight Club.
Now let's see if you actually remember the third rule of Fight Club.
Don't talk about it.
Wasn't there a third? Did they have to put that in a third rule?
I think there were 5 rules total. Something like that. And like one of them, like the third one, I think, was like about, you stop when someone taps out, basically.
Oh, yeah.
But
People are going to come at us for not knowing these rules right off the bat.
Right? But the final rule was, if it's your first time at Fight Club, you have to fight.
Yeah.
All right, so we actually got some messages because we're like, are we abandoned? And I immediately got a text message going, I was really looking forward to this episode. So you're here, yay!
I'm sorry. I'm here. I made it.
And I made a really bad joke when you said, "Fuck, I'm coming." You're a fuck coming. I'm like, are you breathing hard?
That's after the podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
See, I knew there's a reason why we get along. All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Here, let's kind of refresh for memory's sake.
Okay, so for those who weren't around in the first season, I have been a domestic abuse survivor for over 10 years. I was married and I was with my ex-husband for almost 10 years. We were married, I don't know, maybe 5 of it. It was really, really bad. We had 3 children together. And I think every person, every man, every woman always wants to believe that's not going to be me. I'm too strong. I'd never let anything like that happen to me. Like, how do people get into this situation? And I think what people fail to realize is a man or a woman who is going to abuse you is going to be the biggest supporter and charmer in your life for a good long while, until they make you feel as though like they need only you and you need only them. And once that sinks in and happens and they've isolated you and then start to tear down your esteem walls and stuff like that, you're done. Because you've isolated yourself from everybody. If you have children in the mix, you don't want to get your children taken from you. You want to do what's best for them and for yourself. I was lucky that I had a support group. Like, I had very few friends who stuck with me through it. And then I had my parents, and my parents pulled me out of it. And, domestic violence survivors go back 7 or more times on average. So even though somebody may get out and they may stay out for 6 months, something may happen and they go right back to the situation that they were in. And so I think there's a lot of stigma for people that are victims, and how long are you supposed to be a victim? And when do you take accountability and things like that? So,
it sounds a lot like, kind of like a form of like Stockholm syndrome, or more like the devil that you know.
Very much so. Very much so. So it was, I mean, I'm an open book. I'm here to answer any questions. I really feel like, I mean, I don't want to go through the whole story again if people have heard it, but I really feel like domestic violence is something that should be talked about in schools as young as middle school. Like when our kids are going through sex education, I feel like it's something where, you know, kids start to date 12, 13, 14, whether you want to think about it or not. They're going out with their friends, they're hanging out, they have boyfriends, they have little girlfriends.
Well, I mean, think about it, even in grade school, you do the play, I have a boyfriend or I have a girlfriend.
Right.
It starts early.
Right. And so in middle school is when it becomes like, oh, who are you texting? Where were you? How long were you at practice? You've been done with practice for, 15 minutes. Why weren't you at home? Why didn't you pick up your phone? Why are you always with your friend? Things like that. So you think that this person that you're with is just really attentive and needy, but it gets to the point where they've sucked you in and you're in a bad situation from middle school on.
Right.
So,
and then it's more of inexperience is how it starts and a lack of self-esteem. That's how it starts.
Right. Exactly.
And C, did you catch that question in there?
Yes, I did.
It's a good
Richard
one.
asked, question, which show or movie, in her opinion, has the most accurate representation of domestic abuse?
Great question.
Right.
Because I just watched Maid on Netflix.
I've been hearing about that one.
Oh my gosh, it's
I
amazing.
haven't heard of it.
It's amazing. So it's about a young girl in her early 20s who has like a 3-year-old at the start of it. And the person that she's with, I can't remember if he was actually her husband or just her boyfriend, but they had a daughter together. And then he became physically abusive, more like he was an alcoholic, and he was verbally abusive. And then he started to like throw things at her and stuff like that. So she got out with her daughter, and it's about the system. It's about like once she left, first she never filed police reports against him or anything like that. So she went to, social services, and they're like, well, you have to have a job to get daycare assistance, and you have to have a job to get temporary housing. And she's like, I don't have a job. I don't have a credit card. I don't have anything. I've got my daughter, and that's it. So it's about
you've been isolated.
Yeah. So and her mom's, her mom's flighty. Her dad's not around. She does reconnect with her dad and finds out he's a piece of crap.
Go ahead. The explicit tag's on.
Oh, okay.
Shit.
So so her dad's a piece of shit. He was abusive too, and so her mom went through the same thing, and she went through the cycle. And it's about her getting her daughter out and being out for, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's about her being gone for months and months and months. And then being stuck in the situation where she has to go back. So it's really, and then she gets out again, but it's really about what happens when you leave and you've been isolated. If you don't have family and you don't have friends and it's just you, and you've got $12 to your name, and you've got a child, and you don't have a car because he wouldn't let you have one or whatever. So you end up in this situation where they make it very, very hard for you to leave and thrive outside of the environment that you're already in. So it's about that. And it's great. I mean, I haven't been in my situation for over 10 years, and watching that took me back to where I was going to talk about it on TikTok. And I said, because it's October, I was going to put out a series. I couldn't do it.
Wow. It really took you back.
Yeah, it took me back. I mean, I felt like I had to process a lot of it. And my abuser is still a part of my life, kind of, because he's the father of my children and he doesn't see them. He's actually in prison. But I get letters.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Right? And it wasn't even for, me, but,
hey, karma is karma. Sometimes it waits a little while.
Karma is karma. And so.
Exactly.
He's going through all these classes and teaching NA and doing, stuff in the prison system and trying to be a better person. So he's sending me these, I'm sorry, I should have never been like that and stuff like that. But so much of me is like, yeah, until you get out and you find somebody else to prey upon. Or you want to be in touch with your children and you think I'm going to let you do that when you're out or something like that. I just say thank you. I don't egg him on. I'm just like, thank you for telling me that. So part of me, a little smidge of me, wants to believe that he is going to be a better person. However,
Well, I mean, you're a good person yourself. Of course, you're going to want that.
yeah, I try not to believe there's too much evil in the world, but the monster that you hear about being under your bed is not under your bed. The monster lives in your house and creeps
The monster
around.
was in your bed.
Okay. Absolutely, in my bed. So
Yeah, and there's I mean, you have every reason to be cynical. I mean, it really sounds. I mean, I've never been in an abusive relationship. I hope that I'm never in one, and I hope to never be abusive in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, I could imagine that having been through that, it really jades you, and you're going to have that cynicism.
it makes other relationships very, very hard to have because you're always in fight or flight mode. So it's taken me years.
Well, fight, flight, deer in headlight.
Yes, exactly. Like, am I going to fight my way out of this, or am I just going to lay down and play dead? So I did that for a long time, and I will not take shit from anybody at this point. No other man, because, dude, I've been punched in the face. I've been kicked. I've been pregnant and shoved to the ground. I've had things happen to me to where at this point, if somebody wanted to hit me, I'd be like, okay, I'll take one for the team. I'll watch you go to jail, but I'll take one for the team if it means I can stand up for somebody else in a bad situation. So you'd also be surprised how many times people mind their own business and don't help people that are being hurt.
Yeah,
so,
that one pisses me off.
Yeah.
Man, if I see signs of abuse, yeah, I'm going to be that person that's always in your ear about, hey, you need to get out of this. Hey, you need to get out of this. And I don't care if you get pissed off at me. You need to get out of this. You're going to have to cut me off.
You do. So I had friends who would tell me, you have to get out of this, you have to get out of this, you have to get out of this. But they, we were young. We were in our early 20s. So there's not a lot of people that, at the time I had a son, and then I had a daughter, and then I had another daughter very shortly after that. So at the time, it's one thing for your friends to tell you, get out of it. It's another thing for them to say, hey, get out of it. Come stay with me, and I'll provide for you till you get on your feet. So a lot of people are quick to judge and tell you what they would or wouldn't do, but are they going to put a roof over your head? No.
I have an office.
No. A lot of times people won't. They just won't. They want what's best for you, but they don't want to help you along the way, which is not to say that people are bad. They're not. People will tell you need to get out of that situation, and they don't want to be involved in the risk because, after you leave somebody is the most dangerous time because they can find you. They don't want you to be without them. They'll kill you. They'll kill your children. And so a lot of people just don't want to be involved in that. So my parents were, and he threatened me. He threatened my family. He threatened us all the time for a long time. So they'll use any and every dark secret that you have against you.
Well, yeah, it's all part of control.
Yeah. But Maid, anyway, getting off topic, Maid was a very, very good one. That's
now, when it's Maid, is it like a housemaid or like Made in America?
No, Maid, like MAID, because she
it.
ends up being a maid and having to work through that and all that stuff. So that's the one I've seen most recently.
C keeps opening their mouth or his mouth. You got something to say?
I do, but continue. I'll say it after.
Well, I think the only other one I was going to say is 13 Reasons Why. Even though it touches on suicide and it's.
They actually edited it.
They did?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a scene of a suicide, I think it was, that they took out later on.
That's the whole point of it. I don't... Okay. I think the horrifying suicide scene is what makes it very, very real, honestly.
So, I have to go and find the original cut, because I want to see that.
YouTube. Yeah, I'm sure.
Plus, I'm a big Mark Pellegrino fan, and I know that he's in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great show. But that's also about the dynamics of not just being in an abusive relationship, but having an abusive relationship with friends. Like those friends that are that alpha that make you feel like they've done everything in the world for you, so you're indebted to them. Those kind of relationships as well. So,
and Richard said it was the suicide scene. It was claimed that it glorified her death.
it made it very real, is what it did.
Yeah, and I think C's checking out to see the comments because there's a few of them.
I am. Sarah said domestic violence is one of those things that can become a part of your identity theory. It's the monster beside you that you can never escape from. And Richard said, question, does she think domestic abuse has increased/decreased in the last 60 years?
I'm going to say that I do have to say that Sarah made a really good point, that it can become part of your identity.
It's very much a part of my identity. I mean, one of the I don't have any tattoos, and the first tattoo I was thinking of getting was a purple ribbon. But then that signifies that I'm a survivor of domestic violence in a powerful way, but also it brands me in a way that that's not who I am. It's something
Scarlet letter kind of thing.
Correct. And it's something that I went through, and it's something that will always be a part of my life, unfortunately, and it'll be a part of my children's lives as well. So my son is 18. He was like 8 when we left, 7 or 8 for the last time. Mind you, he and I had been leaving the house since he was 1. So he's moved with me several times, in and out, in and out, in and out. And then we had another daughter together, and she was probably 3 or 4 when we separated permanently. And then we had a younger child she was 18 months. So they got to see their dad for a couple of years before he was behind bars.
And these are the kids that I used to make memes of.
Yes. Yes. So, so I put my kids out there for you to make memes of, but their dad was mean, So, I wish I could find those now. I need to go find them. But
it's probably still in that old group. Just have to find that group.
Probably. So, it's something that is a part of who I am. It identifies me in a way that people who meet me now do not meet the person that I was.
Right, you're a much more strong, confident, centered, well-balanced person.
I thought I was strong and confident then. I was 18, 19 years old when I met him. I had just graduated high school. Now, when I look back on it, I wasn't. But I came from a very loving family. I don't want people to think that it's a generational thing. I grew up with a mom and a dad in my house. They loved each other very much. I had a very good role model as a dad. I think it was, not every girl has daddy issues and stuff like that. I was loved to the point where I thought that you could love somebody enough to make them whole.
And that's a very common thing for young adults.
Yes. And that's not true at all. And now when I look at people and I'm like, you know what? And I meet people, I'm like, ooh, you have your baggage. I'll love you for who you are, but I am definitely not going to try and change you. And if I can't live in your sphere of who you are with all your faults, then I will take a step back. I'm not going to make you change who you are. You are who you are. I've grown as a person. I've had to do a lot of shadow work. I've been to therapy, things like that. But I don't want it to define who I am first and foremost.
And then on Richard's question, do you think domestic abuse has increased or decreased in the last 60 years?
I think the amount that we talk about it has increased. I think domestic violence has always been something. I mean, the Bible is misogynistic. Mormon religion is misogynistic. I mean, the Muslim religion in some aspects is misogynistic. I mean, women are property of or servants of or beneath, it's something that's always been there.
Now you're thinking of The Handmaid's Tale. Yes. Where the handmaiden becomes their name literally is of and the name of whoever possesses them.
Absolutely.
Of Henry.
Right. Absolutely. And it's always been that way, and it will continue to be that way for a long time. But I think we're talking about it now. But I think the next thing will be people coming out about domestic violence against men more and against...
I am starting to see that.
Same-sex couples more and stuff like that.
Yep. These are things that need to be talked about. There's a Men's Health UK on Twitter, at Men's Health UK. I used to be on Twitter, and I talked to this guy a lot. And that's all he was doing, was pushing to, point out that, men have issues too.
Absolutely.
Men are abused. Men are raped. Men are, we have our own health. We have health problems that are unique to us. Prostate cancer. Guess what? That is unique to us. Mm-hmm. Higher suicide rates, highest homeless rates, higher rates of death, cardiac failure. There's a lot of things that have to talk about, and all he got constantly was just shit upon constantly. And now I'm starting to see the shift where he's more accepted now,
which I think you should be. But I think for a long time men have been told, like, okay, it's great if you have emotions, you better shove that shit way down, and not, like, you don't deal with your emotions by having emotions and being hysterical like a woman. Like, you're supposed to go drink a beer by yourself at the bar and get over it, or whatever you're going to do. And I know that sounds very cliche, but men go to their garages. They work on cars. They take, they
work on cars. Like, you sit there and you beat the shit out of it and swear up a storm. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, men game, gaming and stuff. So you kind of go into your own little world, where I think generally men go into their own little world, whereas women will run to their friends and talk to their friends or whatever. And it's one of those things where we have a language for it now, just like, different genders and stuff like that. It's more talked about, it's more accepted. And I think eventually, hopefully the next step will be helping men that are in that situation, that want their children, that don't want their children to be around abusive women and stuff like that too.
And it's like that whole thing of, if you want equality, we need equality on both sides. The equation has to be balanced. Yeah. You can't just be like, well, my issues only, your issues don't matter. Mm-hmm. That's not equality. Right. And I agree. There are certain things that, in general speaking, guys are better at than women, and women are better than guys. Mm. Women have better thresholds of pain tolerance than guys. That's a known. That's a given. But there are some guys out there that play the NFL. And that's some pain tolerance right there.
Right.
But we got to be able to find that equilibrium and be like, look, there are some things where there are differences. That's just inherent to the system.
And I don't think because women are a weaker sex per se that men can't be abused. Like, I think that a lot of people would say that, dude, are you serious? Your girlfriend abused you? Come on now, or whatever. Like, people don't want to believe that it happens, especially in couples where they're not same-sex couples. Like, you can imagine a man and a man getting in a fight and it being abusive, or a woman and a woman. But a lot of times, if you tell somebody, my wife hits me and abuses me, or is mentally abusive to me,
or emotionally abusive,
people aren't going to take that seriously. Yeah.
No, and it's like, and a lot of people don't realize, like, even though physically guys typically are stronger, testosterone and does that, it doesn't mean that the woman is not coming at you with a weapon.
Right.
Right.
Or threatening to take your children, or manipulating you, or strongholding you and holding your emotions hostage. Like,
building that gilded cage.
Yes, absolutely. Women are just manipulative. I don't want people to think that it's just men. It's just, in my situation, it was a man, and it's easier for me to talk from that perspective. I wish there were men that had been abused and were willing to talk about it, or had been abusers and had to really take a good hard long look at their life and come to grips with who they are and why they can't be in relationships and stuff like that.
Which I would love to get someone on the show, on this podcast, in that situation. Someone's like, look, I used to be this person. Now I can't get into relationships, or if I'm in a relationship, I have to have this structure in place, and like, genuinely they have repented. Like, they genuinely have changed. Because the last thing I want is to get, because they're manipulative. Abusers are manipulative. And the last thing I want is for one to get on here and be like, let's go ahead and glorify myself. And then that way, my next relationship, I can be like, well, look, see, I'm actually this good guy. You're the one that's the problem. I don't want that.
I think eventually it may get to the point where if my abuser ever sees the light of day again, we're adults enough that we could be in a room together and hash things out and, like, seriously talk them out. Not for him to justify what he did, but for me to have a voice and not get hurt for it. But we've had those talks before and stuff like that. What's he gonna say? I didn't do it. He can't. So all he can do is apologize and hope that I'm kind enough to let him be a part of our kids' lives until they're adults, because I don't have to at this point, and he's done enough psychological damage, but he's still their dad. And that's what makes it really hard. So they have a dad that's raised them from the time that they were little, but this guy is still, mysterious to them because he's not around as much. And you want to think that, I'm sure they want to think that he could be a good person just like I did at the beginning, and that he wouldn't be abusive to them or manipulative to them, or, abusers are manipulative to everybody. So everybody sees them as, oh, not him. He's a great guy. What do you mean he did that? You must have misunderstood or something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's always they always say, watch out for the quiet ones and the nice ones. Mm. And it's like, yeah, it's a stereotype, but the stereotype's based on something.
It is. And I see insecurity in other men and couples. And I have a friend that I've told, as pretty much at the beginning of her relationship, I was like, look, I'm going to be your friend no matter what. You, me, and your boyfriend are going to be besties, because the last thing I want is for him to isolate me from you. And don't get it twisted. I see the red flags and I see who he is for who he is, and I want you to see it, but I can't make you. I was like, do not get engaged for a year. Don't do this or that. Just be careful. Watch out for these things. And I could see it. And I stood up to him. And he and I didn't like each other for a little while, but we have an understanding now. And the understanding is, I told him, I see you for who I think you are. And until you hurt my friend, then we're fine. But once you do, once I have any inkling that you have,
that switch gets flipped and it doesn't flip back.
Yeah, I will badmouth you to everybody. Because everybody needs to be aware.
Right.
Yeah, and Richard put in
what questions?
Yeah, Richard actually just put in, it's a good comment. It's a commentary like a society. Says, I've noticed in horror movies in the last 15 years, there's been a flip in how they portray survivors. In the 80s and 90s, the survivors were always shell-shocked and only gave ominous warnings of the horrors they faced. Now we see survivors coming back to help shed a light on the killers for the new generation. Could this be a result on how society wants to change the old views of victims? That's actually pretty good observation.
I would like to say that, but no.
Okay.
I think it takes a long time for a victim to come out of shell shock. Some don't. So some don't make it out. I hope so. But the person that I am now is not the person I was 3 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, when I was still dealing with it on a weekend basis and scared and things like that. I think those of us who have come out of it are willing to talk about it and be an advocate for other people. But as far as being stronger, I think it takes a really, really long time and a lot of self-healing, because I have just as much guilt as anybody else does about the situation. I know you're not supposed to victim blame, and especially yourself, but as a mom and as a person who didn't grow up in that way, I'm always I know I could have done things differently. But at the time, it was always, what can I do to be better for him? What can I do to change things? What can I do to make the situation better? What am I not doing correctly? How am I failing him? And it was never about me.
Right.
It really wasn't.
One thing I could say with Richard's comment that I'm hoping is that this does help people to be able, that are shell-shocked, to come out of it.
Absolutely.
Even if it changes just a handful of people that wouldn't have come out of it to come out, worth it.
Absolutely it is. It's a lot of work, though. And that's the thing. The system pushes you down so much, and I wish that's why people would watch Made. I hope people do. I hope there's an uptick this week, because the court system is not set up for victims.
Well, I mean, when they're like, "Hey, you have to at least be working." Most of the people I've ever talked to that have been in an abusive relationship, they're not working. Right. They're not allowed to work.
Right. I was working, but he made it very hard for me to work. He made it very hard at my job. But I was working. Thank goodness I had some money. But here's the thing. So part of my story is the first time I left him, he and I had just had my son. He was 6 weeks old. I went and lived back with my parents. I was going to school full time. And at that point, I did not have a job because I had just been out on maternity leave. Like, no. Okay. I didn't have a full-time job because the restaurant that I was working at had just closed. So I did have a job, but they closed. So at that point, I didn't have a job, had to move back in with my parents. And when I went to get like a restraining order and stuff like that, like you have to sit in front of a judge and you have to convince them that you've been abused and you have to write down everything that's happened. So that part's fine, but here comes the hard part. You go to court and their attorney's not there. So their court-appointed attorney is not there, so they continue the case, which means you have to take another day off work or school or your kids to go back in and see if they'll actually try it and give you a piece of paper that says that this person's not allowed this many feet, in your premise or whatever. And then if you ever go to file one again, like at one point he had harassed us so much that he was calling well checks on my kids where we were living. When I was with my husband now, he was my fiance at the time. The sheriffs came out there all the time. And the last time the sheriff came out there, he's like, if this dude calls one more time, I'm going to press charges against him because it was just stupid.
He's abusing the system.
Abusing the system. So when I went to Cobb County, where I was, to file a report or to file a temporary restraining order, she's like, have you been hit, kicked, slapped, anything recently? I'm like, no, I'm not in this situation. He's harassing me. The system is not set up for stalking or harassing or anything of that nature. Yeah,
it's always that they have to do something.
Yes.
Yep. Well, they're invading my private life.
Right.
That's doing something. Well, no, they have to do something physically.
They have to do something. Right. And then the other thing is I was reading this book that's wonderful. It's called Invisible Bruises. I wish I had it down here.
Just the title alone.
Yeah. And so it talks about how, police will come to your house and you'll say, this guy kicked in my door. This guy ransacked my house. This guy assaulted me. Now, if you say this guy that I don't know, they're going to look for that person. They're going to find them. They're going to press charges. As soon as you say my husband, my ex-husband, my ex-boyfriend, the father of my children, somebody that I know, they're like, oh, and they don't press charges in a way that they would if it was a stranger coming into your house to assault you and kick your door down.
That's not right.
Right. So it's looked at completely different than if you say a stranger came in my house and invaded my privacy and invaded my space and hurt me versus somebody that you've been with. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, you can come out of it for sure, but it takes a really long time.
And just so everybody's aware, I actually dropped a link to Made in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, let me see who that Invisible Bruises is by, because it's really good. Okay, it's called No Visible Bruises.
Okay.
What we don't know about domestic violence.
Rachel Louise Snyder?
Yes. And it is amazing. A friend recommended it to me. And I won't lie, it's in 3 parts. It took me a long time to get through that as well. Because as much as you don't want to have flashbacks or go back to what was going on, you have to heal. And then reading it from an outside perspective after you've been in that situation and seeing what people in the book go through and how they try to correct abuse in prison and stuff like that, like the system that they have set up and all that. It's just, it's a lot to go through, but it's good perspective. And I wish that people who have never been through domestic violence would read it, especially with young daughters and stuff like that, 18-year-old daughters, 19-year-old daughters, things like that.
And if you're anything like me where you don't have the time to actually sit down and read and need audiobooks, good news, narrated by the author.
There you go.
Those are the best.
Yes, they are.
Like
I'm a paperback person, but yes, they are.
I love to be able to sit down and read. I just don't have the time.
No,
So,
it's like a cleaning in the kitchen audiobook thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, audiobooks, I could be running errands, I could be doing chores, and I could still get my books in.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, when it's the actual author that's reading it, you know there's not going to be any kind of mix-up in interpretation. They're going to tell exactly as they intended.
Yes, you get the tone, exactly. So I encourage anybody who's ever been through any sort of domestic violence or thinks that their friends are going through it or anything like that to reach out to them if you can help them. Like, help them. Or help find them resources or do something like that. It's not enough to say, you're in a shitty situation, you need to get out of it. Well, duh. I live it every day. I know I'm in a bad situation. I can't get out of it. Like, it's not as simple as packing your stuff and leaving and being done with it. It's not. It's just not.
And C's doing the...
Do it. What do you want to say?
I have a question. Like, what do you do if they just don't accept it? Like, my late sister, her and her baby daddy, he was emotionally and mentally abusive to her. He wouldn't let her go in her own car. He had to have her keys on him just so he knew she wouldn't go anywhere. She couldn't have any apps. She couldn't talk to any of her friends or any other guy friends. He would be very cruel to her verbally, things like that. And my sister, my other older sister, and my mom would try to talk to her about it, try to tell her, that's not okay, do you need some help? Do you want to go, like, do you need to talk to someone? Do you need a therapist? If you need our help, we're here for you. But she wouldn't, like, you couldn't talk about him around her or else she would get very defensive for him. So we couldn't really talk to her about it. So what would you do in that situation?
Well, can I ask what happened in the end? Is she still with him, or is
she passed away. They were going to get back together. He was using their daughter against her, saying he would take her away because my sister had a very low self-esteem, like you were talking about. And she was very depressed, and she ended up slipping into an addiction. And he would use that addiction against her. And he was just, no, we couldn't talk about him anytime unless she wasn't around, because she would, in a sense, it was like we were being mean to him in a way, and she felt we were like just being cruel to him. She didn't really see it the way that we saw it.
I think she probably did, because nobody... You seem like a very calm, collected, educated person. I assume that you came from a family of people who cared if you and your sister and your mom were saying, do you need help? What can we do? Things like that. So when I would get defensive about my ex-husband, it wasn't so much about me trying to defend him. It was about my family staying the hell out of my business so that I didn't get hurt. So they didn't call and say, I can't believe you're doing this to her, things like that. Or I would lie, or, and I knew that it was wrong and I couldn't get out of it. So I was defensive because I was defending myself too. What's going on is wrong, but here's the thing. Somebody can easily, if you have a child with somebody can easily say, my ex-husband used to say, I'm going to kill myself. If you leave, I'm going to kill myself. So
that's a gilded cage kind of attack right there.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so I'm so in love with him already because he's the father of my children. He charmed me to death. He became my best friend, my only friend. And then he says, if you leave, I'm going to kill myself. So that's one thing that somebody can do. And then I assume if they have a child together, another thing is, addiction. So let's say she had, a back surgery and was taking Percocet or something or whatever. And if you are taking Percocet and you are already in a horrible, hellish situation and you take too much one time and it makes you feel good and numb and whatever, that's probably the only escape that she had. So he, of course, used that against her. I'll take your daughter. I'll tell everybody you do drugs. I'll this, that, while he was probably feeding them to her and getting them for her. But I will take you to the cleaner. I will make sure you don't have anything. I will take everything from you. I'm the only person who's ever going to love you like this. You don't need your apps because you'll go and get drugs from somebody, or you don't need this or that. Like my ex-husband, we had a lot of times we only ended up having one car, and he would drive me to work, and then he would take the car with the excuse, I need it for our son or whatever. So there were times I was at work and couldn't leave. There were times when I was at home and couldn't leave. Like I was at home with a newborn and would say, I'm going to go to the gas station. And he'd been at work all day. I just want to get up and move for a minute. No, I'll go. So he'd never let me go anywhere. So you understand that you've gotten in this situation where you're like, you've lied to your family so much and you're defending yourself and you can't get out of it, but you want to get out of it. So I'm sure she was probably very defensive, just like, chill, don't say anything. I don't want to upset him. I don't want you to think he's this person, because if you do, you're going to go say something to him and it's going to be worse for me. And so that's why I told my friend that was in what I thought was a bad situation. I said, I'm going to be your best friend. Okay. You can tell me anything and everything, and I'm going to smile at him and I'm going to be nice and I'm going to play fair and all that stuff, because when the shit hits the fan, you need somebody on your side that can still talk that person down enough. I was scared that you were going to end your story with she was killed by him, because that's what happens to people that can't get out. They end up dead. They get out, or they get out and then they go back to like collect their stuff, thinking that person's going to be calm and stuff like that. They get killed. The only thing that you can do that I know of is say, I know you know what's going on is wrong. You weren't raised that way, or that there's a life beyond that. And if there is anything I can do to help you because you're overwhelmed and can't do it yourself, I'm happy to. And I'm happy to tell you that whether you go back now and stay away or not, I will be there for you. So that's the only thing that I can think to tell people. You can't tell them how to fix it because they're so overwhelmed and inundated that they just can't hear any noise outside of what they're already going through. So compassion is all I can say.
So,
Right. Well,
go for
go
it.
on.
No.
I will say they lived with us, so we kind of just knew. There was even one time me, my nephew, and I think my cousin, we were sitting downstairs and they were fighting. I forget about what, but she started screaming that he was choking her. And he was still living with us at the time. She went over to my brother's house. I grabbed a pair of scissors just in case. And they got into a confrontation. He had to end up moving out, but we were well aware of what was happening and we did give her our compassion. But even when we had told her, we're there for her. If she ever needs to talk, just tell us. She would keep it inside.
I think in a situation like that where you're living with somebody and you know that something is going on, you have to be the person that calls the police, or be the person that is the bad guy. And your sibling, your friend, your whatever will be mad at you at the time and they'll lash out at you. But I think having a plan and being like, this is not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay for our home. It's not okay for you. It's not okay. You can sit back and watch it happen so that, or you can sit back and not do anything about it because you're in it. And I know you don't have the strength to do this, but I'm going to do it for you. So he can be mad at me and you can be mad at me and I'll take that brunt. Fine. But if it means you get to live another day, I'm completely fine with that. And I've taken that hard line with people too. Like, I don't really care what you think. He can do that to you. He's not going to do it to me or my family or you if I can help it. And so I think but it's a fine line because you don't want to lose your sister. You don't want her to move out and leave with him and take their daughter and her not be okay. It is so hard to navigate. And people just don't think about those things at all. Everything is tied to that person, your children, your money, your house, your trailer, your whatever you've got, your secrets, your, things that they've made you do that's horrible. I mean, that's when you enter into a committed relationship with somebody, nobody really thinks about those things in a young relationship. And I wish
Right.
we were taught to think about those things. Like, you don't give everybody your whole heart. You don't tell everybody your secrets if they can use them against you later. Unless you know that they're a stable and good person. But that just comes with time. I don't know I'm glad your sister got out of it for a little while, it sounds like, at least. But I mean, compassion is all you can do.
Definitely, definitely, I agree. And I would say for a bit she did. She was you used the example of her getting a back injury. Well, that literally happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
She had an abscess and was given some medication, and it made her hallucinate, and she fell out the window and broke her tailbone, her hip. She fractured a couple other bones, but because of that, she had to stay home. And so, they would kind of talk, but she was getting her life back together. She didn't have a job at the time, but she had applied to one and she was getting ready to, go to the interview and things like that. She was clean. She could actually drive again inside her own car. She was doing really well, but then it got into an argument because he put a tracking device on her phone because he didn't trust her because of her addiction.
Mm.
And I will just say right now, we have a lot of addicts in our family. And my sister was going to get some pills for one of my aunts who is living with us, who also has an addiction. And he'd found out through the app where she had went, and he had threatened to take away their daughter again. Said that they would go to the courts. My older sister was trying to assure her that that's super hard to do in California. And we have, lawyers in our family. We have people that could actually help her. And she told her this, and she was like, yes, I know. Then she ended up going out, lied to us where she was going, and ended up overdosing.
Mm-hmm. And I hate to hear that. I really do. I hate that. And I hate that drugs like that you never intend to get addicted to, but once you need them and you start to need them more and then you get sick because you don't have them. Like, the opioid epidemic is a real epidemic. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It's not weed. It's not alcohol. It's not, alcohol is bad enough. People used to ask me all the time, was he abusive when he drank? And I was like, no, he had no excuse to be an asshole. He just was. Like, he didn't have to drink to be a person.
Right.
But I can understand her wanting to numb all of that. And I was lucky that I didn't start drinking or doing drugs or anything like that. The good thing in my situation was we were so poor that he couldn't have fought me in court if he wanted to. Like, there was just no way of it happening. However, there are way too many abusers that have the money, they have the time, they have the resources, they can cut you off of everything. They are smart, they know how to track you, they know how to use apps, they know how to use the computer, they get into your software and they do horrible things, and they
can know how to use keyloggers so they can get your
absolutely,
passwords.
Absolutely, especially now. Like 10 years earlier, it was completely different. Now it's, it's like that. You can track your spouse with kid things, Life 360, whatever you want. It's insane. Like, you are never alone at this point. You're never alone. And if you, God forbid, you leave your phone somewhere, or you don't pick it up when they call, or they texted you and you didn't text them right back, what were you doing? Who were you with? I mean, there are times that my ex-husband would keep me up for days until I would admit to him what he wanted to hear.
Whether it happened or not, I assume.
Whether it happened or not. And I never lied to him because I was scared of him. So I would lie to everybody else in my life, but not my husband at the time. There's no way. I wasn't doing it. I had nothing to hide from him because I didn't want to get my ass beat. But they threaten to kill themselves. They threaten this, they threaten that. And sometimes those threats are very real. And if you're in a situation like now where I live in a middle-class house, I live in a middle-class family, my kids are well taken care of, I'm well taken care of, I have a job. But if my husband was a jerk and he wanted to, my husband now, if he was abusive, he could take me to court and win. Like, he has the financial resources, family have financial resources and stuff like that. So it really also all depends on socioeconomics. I mean, it's not because you're poor, you're abused. I mean, people that are millionaires are abused. It's just,
And they're not always the abuser. Sometimes they are the abused.
Yeah, absolutely. So your persona out in front of your friends and stuff like that is completely different than it is at home. And it has a lot to do with self-esteem. And once they've cracked your self-esteem, you're done. You're done. If you stay in that situation, you're done, because that's all you hear all the time. You're worthless. Nobody will love you like I do. You're horrible. You're a liar. You're not this. You're not that. You don't clean. You don't do this. You don't do that. It's, and I was the one making the money in our relationship. I was the one working constantly, had a stable job. He didn't. He had over 30 jobs in the time that we were together. So we were together like 10 years on and off, and he had over 30 jobs. So even though I was the breadwinner, which wasn't much of any bread, he still had the upper hand. So
one thing I wanted to throw out there, your opinion on weave.
I don't know what that is.
Really?
No.
Weave stands for Women Escaping a Violent Environment.
I have not heard of that.
Really? Oh, because I heard about them. I was actually at a group therapy for depression, and there was someone that had to go to Weave that was recommended. Because there says Weave's mission is to promote safety and healthy relationships and support survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and sex trafficking. Now, the beauty of their website, there's a little thing on the right-hand side that says exit site. It is always there. It's persistent. So if you ever need to, like if you're trying to do this on the down low so your significant other doesn't see it, you click that, it goes straight to target.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think that's wonderful.
That is such a little detail that you didn't know you needed until you see it.
Yes, and I would love to, not knowing about that makes me sound horrible, but I would love to know more things like that, to put that kind of information out across platforms. But here's the risk you run. I take that back, because here's the risk you run. The less people know that don't need to know, the better.
Yeah.
Because if predators know these things, they can hurt you.
They could easily go in and go, hey, look, firewall. You don't get to go there. Or I get an alert every time you go there.
Yes. And here's the thing, you would like to think that you could look at somebody in public or a friend or something and say, I need help. And like I was saying earlier, you'd be surprised how many times people don't help you, like that hear the noises or hear what's going on and they're like, not my business. It's not my business. I'm not dealing with it. It's not my business.
Bystander effect.
Yeah.
Which actually there was a study just done. It does happen, but not as often as they thought. More people actually get involved nowadays.
Do you think that
That's
the people
good,
that
at
don't get
least.
involved are going to tell you that they don't get involved?
Well, it's they're starting to see it's a trend shift where it's not the okay, we're just going to sit here and let that person get abused on the subway. It's almost always everyone in the car jumps that person's shit.
Right. And if you're in a public area, absolutely. If you are, I'll tell you one thing that happened to me. I don't remember what the fight was about. But I do remember that we were in the apartment complex that we were living in at the time. And I had run downstairs to a guy's apartment that lived with his mom. He was in his 20s. We were friends with them. And it was probably 12 o'clock at night. And I said, you've got to help me. I need to get away from him. Like, I need help. I'm not okay. Our son's not okay. I need help. He's like, you're going to wake up my mom. You got to get out. So there was no regard for me or what was going to happen or anything. He's like, you're going to wake my mom up. You got to go. And you'd like to think people wouldn't do that, but they do. And then there was another time where we had two brothers living, not our brothers, but two guys that were brothers living with us so that they could get on their feet and get jobs and stuff like that. And they listened to him probably throw me against cabinets and poke me in the face and slam me to the ground and everything one night. And they didn't come out of their room once. They didn't care. It didn't matter if I was screaming or anything. They just didn't care. And there are those people that you would think are good people that would help. But if you're not in a public situation, you would be very surprised how many people turn their head and keep walking because that's not their business and they don't want to get involved.
Right.
Now, will I ever do that? No, because I've been in that situation. Like I said, I'll take one for the team if it means I'm distracting that person from you, to save you, to do something for you. But there are plenty of people who don't want to get involved. It's horrific.
And Bexy's listening. She's in the chat right now. So, hey, Bexy, how often have I done that for you? Where someone's abusing you online and I jump in and I take the heat to give you the reprise. It's one of the things I do. Also, at our house, we have, my wife and I, have brought people in to live with us. And it's like, all we ask for in return is help keep the house a little bit clean.
Right.
It's like, you don't have to work. We'll provide the food. You got, shower, laundry, all that. It's everything. Mm-hmm. And I will give up my office and I will go ahead and move my computer either into the spare bedroom, or if you have kids and they have to have a separate room, well, guess what? I will set this back up in my bedroom.
Right.
But
and it's great that you do that. It really is. But I think
it's scary to do it, though. I'm not going to lie.
It's very scary. It is very scary. And there's risk involved. And that's what's so hard. Like, I'm not trying to down the people that don't make it their business. But what I'm saying is a lot more people don't make it their business than you would like to think. There are not as many saviors out there as you would like to think. So when you do have those people that do save you, like you taking somebody in and helping somebody out, that's a few and far between, because most people are like, whoa, this guy's volatile. And he's going to come after me and my family, and I don't want to be a part of that. So you really have to have a plan in place.
Right, and I have my own kids that I have to worry about too. So it's so we got to do a risk assessment before we just bring someone in.
Right, and you have to do a risk assessment, but that means that kind of means that person has stability or they don't. Now, if I could go back and do it over again, I would have probably moved out of state with my sister. And stayed with her away from him, away. Because when you're married, you can't kidnap your own children.
Right.
So I could have left when we were married. I could have left with the kids and moved out of state. and made things even harder for him. But he doesn't have, like I said, he didn't have money and stuff like that. So he wasn't going to be able to fight in a way that other people that could make it really bad for you. But being a town over is not enough. You need to be away so that it's not easy for them to get to you or find you, or you to go back to them, because it happens all the time.
Yep. And there was we actually had someone on not too long ago who left the state to get away. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And just a couple of things in here. May showed up, one of the porch donkeys, and said flat out, "Some bridges are better to be burned than crossed. When it comes to the safety of children, I've always got me matches." And of course, then I had to do the M&M line, can full of gas, handful of matches. And then May also look, go for it. You got it.
She said, "Financial abuse is often ignored, but it's very real."
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Very.
Absolutely.
And it's even easier now because it's all digital.
Right.
All it takes is a username and password. And then Bexy threw out another great resource because, after I threw out Weave, this weaveinc.org, she put out thehotline.org. And they also have the exit button, or you just tap the escape key twice, and it takes you to Google's page instantly.
Yeah, that's good.
But they also tell you flat out that if you're going online, there's no way to completely erase your history. If you're concerned about being tracked, call this number now. Mm-hmm. Which is just awesome. Mm-hmm. Because that's harder to track.
Yes, it is.
Right.
I can't imagine what it would be like. What I was going through was 10, 11 years ago. I can't imagine what it must be like now to try to get out of a situation, because everything is digital. I had a flip phone at the time, or like a Palm Pilot or something. You know what I mean? Like, it was.
I got a sidekick.
Yeah, I mean, with that era, like the iPhone had just come out. Like, I had like an Android or something, and I was learning how to use it. Like, it just wasn't. Things like keystrokes and stuff just weren't on our radar at that point.
Right. Now, this is awesome. I'm sorry to throw this out there, but this is another one Bexy just found. NCADV.org, National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They have the National Domestic Violence Hotline phone number and website. National Dating Abuse Helpline phone number and website. National Child Abuse Hotline Child Help phone number and website. National Sexual Abuse Hotline. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. National Center for Victims of Crime, National Human Trafficking Resource Center, Polaris Project, National Network for Immigrant and Refugees Rights, National Coalition for the Homeless, National Resource Center on Domestic Violence, Futures Without Violence, the National Health Resource Center on Domestic Violence. I mean, just a ton. It's just a huge list of resources.
It is.
This is amazing.
This is great. And
there's a section for men.
Yes.
Yes.
The hard part is, in certain places like little towns, you don't have, Section 8 or government housing or slide scale or something like that. You have to be closer to something bigger.
Oh, you mean my little hometown of 3,500 people?
Yeah, and they're huge new shelter, right?
There was actually a couple of places that actually did Section 8, but that was it. And they were basically, you could die on the wait list.
Yeah, you could die on the wait list. You're not getting in there for a good year or two.
And I don't mean you're going to be killed while on the wait list. You're going to die of old age on the wait list.
Right, exactly. Like, until somebody else passes away and you go through like 500 or more people, you're not getting in there. So a lot of people do end up having to rely on friends and family, because there may be short-term solutions for a little while. But once you have to transition out of that, because you have to get a job and you have to get daycare and you have to do this and you have to do that, like, there's only limited resources and they can only help you for so long. So you really do have to have some sort of outside support system. And once they've stripped you of all of that, it's horrible. The other thing that keeps women from saying something is, like in my situation, he wasn't abusing our children, but he was definitely abusing me, and they were hearing it. So,
and the last thing you need is for your kids to normalize that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was becoming normal to my son. And I think, and I had to get him out of that situation. But they'll also use their abuse against you. Like they'll say, yeah, take the kids and you won't get to keep them. Because if you tell people I've been abusing you, you're just as much at fault, and they'll take the kids from you. So you won't have them and I won't have them. But, and as a mom, your first instinct is, oh my God, my kids.
And
but, oh my God, my kids here, or oh my God, my kids in the system, or, you don't really know what's going to happen, because as soon as you open your mouth to somebody, a teacher, a doctor, or whatever, they're obligated to report something, which they should, but.
And actually, I have a story that goes on that too.
Yeah.
So let's just say that I'm just going to say a relative. I'm not going to say how related or whatever. They were in a situation where they had multiple times had the police involved about being in a violent household with their children. Mm-hmm. It happened enough times where when the kid finally got shoved to the ground and struck, that the system, they did say, you know what, you're just as much to blame. We told you repeatedly, get out of that situation. You didn't. You brought this upon your children. So there is a certain level of truth, but if you haven't been, and this is in California, I don't know how this goes across other states, but in California at least, this is what happened. If the police get involved and you make a break for it within the first couple of contacts, you're good. Even if they try pulling that, well, you allowed it. Well, you got away. Mm-hmm. And then you reported it, or someone else reported it and you got away. The law here will take your side. But if you keep going back, eventually they're going to be like, look, this was the logical conclusion. You're just as culpable. And at that point, the kids will be taken into the system.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people get with it. Even if people are compassionate with you the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, people will be like, well, shit, at what point do you not, at what point is this your problem and not mine? But again, the financial, the mental, the emotional, the physical, that doesn't all go away, and you have so many things tied together, and you have to see each other and all that it's very, very hard to stay away, because you constantly feel like you're a burden to other people. Like you want to be out of your situation and you don't want to be abused anymore. But, when I moved in with my parents, I had 3 children, and I had 3 children with an abuser, and everybody after the first one was like, are you kidding me? So none of my pregnancies were happy go lucky. Oh, she's pregnant, she's gonna have a baby. It was like, you're pregnant again, did you not learn the first time, kind of thing. And of course I have my children and my parents love them and all that, but right. People are you serious? So you feel like a burden to your friends and your family and stuff like that when you've got all these children you have to feed, and you have a $10 an hour job, and people have to help you, and you can't pay for a sitter, so they have to help you. Things like that is just, in your mind, sometimes it's easier to take the brunt of things than it is to step out of it and be out of control but free at the same time. You're not free. You're free of one system, but not free of the other.
Right.
So.
Right.
And I can imagine that it's like, well, I could be a burden on my family, or I could try to shelter my kids while going back in that situation. Again, the devil that you know.
Right. Exactly.
And for my part, as long as you are making an effort to better your situation, you're allowed to stay as long as you need, even if it's years. Because I know I know that you want to get out of it too.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be a burden on other people. You really don't. You don't want to disrupt their house. You don't want to disrupt what they're doing. But I really think. We actually had one where we're like, do you really have to go? Because that does happen. right? Like, oh, we were getting real used to you being around. You're kind of just an ornament around here, and like you're a dynamic of the house.
You're like the footstool. No. No, actually, you become part of the family. Like, there's one person that the dynamics was you are now family.
Right, and the kids become that way and everything else.
Oh, yeah, and the kids still ask. Like, yeah, you have to come over and say hi to the kids because they freaking miss you. Not to say I don't, because I do. but I'm going to use the kids because that hits harder.
Right, exactly. Use the little ones with the big eyes, you know?
Puppy dog eyes.
Yep.
Yes. What other question? Any other questions?
So, there was one thing that it was brought up last time, and I really wanted to touch upon it again because, you know, we're growing. We have new listeners. Some people haven't had time to go through the back episodes. Some people just won't. The difference you have now, I remember you talking about how, with your current husband, that there were times that you felt like he didn't care because he wouldn't get angry. He wouldn't rise up to the challenge. Mm-hmm. And you were almost like pushing him like, why the fuck aren't you hitting me? And it's been a year now. Is it still that way?
Chris, my husband and I have been together for 10 years. And what we were talking about at that point was I went from one very, very hot extreme to a very cold extreme. So, my ex-husband was passionate about everything. Everything angered him. Everything was, you know, the slightest noise from me or the kids set him on edge. So of course, then everybody was on edge and all that stuff. So it was tumultuous.
Your heartbeat's too fucking loud.
Right. Don't breathe in my direction.
Stop fucking breathing.
Yeah.
I can hear that look on your face.
Yeah. Shut up when you're talking to me.
Don't you look at me in that tone of voice.
So when I got together with Chris, he was very quiet and didn't care that the kids played and laughed and all that. Very logical, analytical, you know, he didn't like confrontation. So when I was passionate about something...
Like he's a genuinely nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. Like, he's a great guy. But when you're used to somebody having a reaction to the things that you're doing, and you're with somebody who will just look at you and say, I'm sorry you feel that way. You're just kind of like, and what are you going to do about it? You know, and they don't do anything, and you're just kind of left to sit with your feelings and process it yourself. And there's bad in that too, not expressing your feelings and things like that. Like, we've come a long way in a year because we've had those conversations where I'm like, you don't tell me anything that bothers you. I assume everything's okay. And then I know the shoe is going to drop and what's going to happen and things like that. So there's been a lot of growing between us two and a lot of communication, which is great. And I still love him for it. I still love him for being the total opposite, but I do need to feel as though he cares.
You need to see that fire.
That to me. Yes. There's no fire in the way that there was before. It was a hot fire. It was that'll fucking burn you fire.
Basically, it's like a grease fire in the kitchen.
Yes. And this is, okay, you can run your candle over the flame and you might get hurt sometimes, but your ego will be okay. You know, it's okay.
Or that grease fire, man, that thing could just erupt at any second. Like, that grease pops and you're coated in flame.
Yes, exactly. That's it. You're done. So it's very good for me, but it is very different. And he's also the kind of person where no matter what I went through, I have a very, very big heart and I want things to be okay for everybody. And he has to reel me in and be like, it's not okay for everybody. That's not, like, you can't fix that situation no matter how much you want. Like, I'll get in trouble for speaking up for other people because I won't let things like this happen if I know about it. And he'll be like, you're going to cause a lot of damage if you're not careful. And so he's just that calm, like, yes, you can be involved, help who you need to help, but, like, watch who you're telling.
So he kind of thinks it through, and you're like, I see a problem, I need to fix it. He's like,
yeah.
Are they ready for it to be fixed? Because that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, are they ready for that? Are they asking you for this? You know, are you just involving yourself because you are self-righteous in this way?
And then think about how you were in that situation. You just want them to stop. They're going to get you in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I've had to tell people that I knew were in bad situations, like, I love you and I respect your decision. Like, you could have told your sister, you know, I love you, I respect your decision, I don't like it, I won't be a part of it, but I understand that it's hard for you in your relationship. But I think sometimes if somebody is willing to call somebody out who's abusive, if you're willing to call them out on it and let them know, I'm not scared of you, it kind of makes them go, oh, other people see what I'm doing. So I either need to...
Can't that make it worse, though?
It can. But if you get those people in your life where they're still a part of, like, I found the easiest thing to do was, like, become friends with people he was working with or something like that, because he wants to have a good impression on them. So when for me, I was around other people and not stuck in my house getting abused, because he wanted to impress those people. They weren't my friends. He didn't give a shit about my friends. He didn't like them. They were all horrible people. But if you can get yourself in a situation where they're having to impress other people most of the time, it can be a little bit easier. I also thought having people in my house that I was helping was going to be easier, but it wasn't. It just added to it. But that was a different time. You know, it was completely different. I don't know. I don't have all the answers at all. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just somebody who's been through it and watched other people go through it, and having to go back through and process everything I've been through, and go through counseling and learn to love myself and learn that my children are going to be affected by this, but I can show them what not to do, and help them be compassionate for other people along the way, hopefully, because they've been in a bad situation.
I mean, they can in their own lives, they can contrast where they were with where they are.
Absolutely.
Where you were and where you are, and they can see what a healthy relationship is versus a dysfunctional one. They might be better prepared than most people.
Yeah, I think
like,
they
as messed up as it sounds, it might have helped them a lot. But that's largely because you got yourself in that situation where they could see the difference.
I was very lucky. I didn't go from one bad abusive relationship to another. There wasn't this knight in shining armor that came and then did the same thing to me, because that does seem to be the pattern for a lot of people, whether they want to get into another bad situation or not. You know, if there's somebody who's willing to take them on and get something out of it for the wrong intentions and purposes and stuff like that, and then they end up in another bad situation, it happens. It didn't happen to me, thank goodness, but it definitely could have happened.
Well, I mean, you actually found a knight in shining armor. Let's be honest.
I did.
I think everybody else was finding a narcissist in a veneer.
Very true.
Because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the abusers, they tend to be pretty narcissistic.
Oh, they're very narcissistic and very likable. That's what people don't get. Like,
narcissists are likable.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, these people aren't mean. And that's the thing. Like, they're mean behind closed doors, and they manipulate, and they're mean, and they pull you down, and they make you feel worthless. But you go outside of that, and you smile, and you better act right, and all that stuff. And
they will charm your socks off.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And then you'll get that whole thing of, I never would have thought that you guys had any problems at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they seem like such a nice person.
Yeah. Do you remember me having that many accidents before we got together?
I can only run into a door so many times.
Yeah.
That was the other thing that I think I talked about this last time we talked. I was with him for so long, it made me a liar. It made me a really good liar, or what I thought was a really good liar. Because I had to lie about everything, as far as, like, if I had a bruise, if I wouldn't let my children go to some family function because he was pissed, if I you know, whatever it was, I was constantly having to make up stories. It got to the point where when I moved back in with my parents, I had to learn how to not lie about things simple as I went to the movies instead of going to the grocery store and did something for myself and feeling like I needed to lie about it. I mean, I had to train myself to be a good person and not lie for no good reason.
Damn it, May.
Oh no.
It is such an on-topic, such off-color, like...
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You want me to say it?
Or do you want me to say it? Okay.
I'll say it.
Wow.
May said, I ran into a door, but I deserved it.
That is such a South Park line right there.
Oh my god.
Or actually, that's actually more of a Family Guy thing, like Stewie saying to Brian after beating the shit out of him.
Where's my money, Brian? Where's my money? Where's my money, Brian?
This is good orange juice. God, that scene was horrific.
I think if you can't laugh about this stuff and laugh at jokes like that, it's like you have to have a dark, dead sense of humor to get through a lot of this. Because if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. Like, you know, I can laugh at myself now and be like, oh my God, I was an idiot. You know, I was young. I was an idiot. I didn't get to live my 20s until I was in my 30s. And
I did that. That wasn't very good.
My dad pointed that out to me. Yeah, I mean, my dad pointed that out to me when I got with my husband. Now he was like, you are getting to live your 20s in your 30s in a stable environment, and you're smarter. You're not in your 20s, so you have your head on your shoulders enough to know that actions have consequences.
Young enough to party, old enough to pay for it, and know better.
Yeah.
Know my limits.
Yes, it's that middle ground, right? So, and I had a place to come back to and all that stuff. So it was much easier for me to live my 30s in my 20s, because I spent my 20s raising kids, going to school full time, and going to work full time, and then wondering if it was going to be okay when I got home. I didn't want to be at work, and I didn't want to be at home. I didn't want my kids, to suffer without me and stuff like that. Like I'm turning 40 on November 16th, and
You're still young.
Yeah,
I'm turning 45 in February.
That's okay.
I will no longer be pulling 40. At that point, I'm switching over to pushing 50.
You're in your mid-40s, man. Mid-40s.
Like, literally, the 1 year that you're in your mid.
I think it's like 44 to 47.
Well, once you're 46, you're pushing 50. You're closer to 50 than you are 40.
That's why there's a mid. There's a mid.
Yeah.
We'll give that mid 4 years and the rest.
There was one thing I wanted to circle back on when you were talking about things when you notice that your husband, like maybe he's not engaging or he's kind of hiding. I could only imagine this one popped up. So I noticed that you're in the driveway for a while there, or in the garage there for a while there. That's what guys tend to do. We will park and we will sit.
Right, solitude. Like, you just need that. Nobody else talking to you, breathing down your neck. You need to process it. And that's what a lot of men do instead of like talking it out and like getting heated or whatever. Yep. My husband's the kind of person that doesn't like confrontation, but the last year of therapy for me, for him, for everybody kind of thing is like, you have to talk about these things and you have to be on the same page and you have to work through them, because just because you're not yelling at each other doesn't mean that you're not discontent. So right. you have to talk through things. And so even though it's hard, I know that I could go to him and I could say the most horrific thing. Like, I could be like, I wrecked the crap out of your car. I, ran into the garage. I did this or that, or I spent, blah, 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 $1,000 on something I shouldn't have. And he'd be like, don't ever do that shit again.
And then it's like, as just to top it off, I kicked the dog.
Right. I kicked the dog, and he'd be like, what the fuck are you thinking? And then he would be like, all right, let's fix it. And he'd be mad, but it would never be where I couldn't come home and tell him the worst thing I'd ever done and felt like he was or the littlest thing I'd ever done, and feel like he was going to hate me for it and make me pay for it over and over and over again.
I forgot to check the bottom of the shopping cart and I stole something.
I've done that.
Who hasn't?
About like Coke and toilet paper. I think everybody's gotten away with like Cokes and toilet paper.
Yeah. Although there's been a few times like, shit, I'm going to go back because this is karma.
Your kids call you out for it. Have you ever been in the line, like about to walk away and your kid's like, you forgot the blah, blah, blah down at the bottom. You're like, shit, thanks a lot, kid.
Yeah, it's like, now I feel like shit, thanks. It was totally unintentional.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're like, oh man, I look horrible. I was about to walk away, and they're like, blah, 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 blah. But I've walked out before and had stuff, underneath, but...
Yeah, and actually, I used to work at a drugstore, a Thrifty's, back before it became Rite Aid. And they had a sign in the break room that said, well, watch out for Bob. And it showed this guy hunched down in the bottom of the basket, B-O-B, bottom of the basket. So you're supposed to, to look down there before they go, but you know how often you do that? You don't.
Register and everything.
I mean, you basically have to, like, stand up and peer.
Yeah, so you're, like, watching them go, and they're like, can I help you?
No, I'm not checking you out. I'm just making sure there's nothing at the bottom of the basket.
Looking for Bob.
Yeah. A likely excuse to look at my ass. I kind of missed that job. I did some... yeah.
My mom accidentally stole a beer once. She was at the store, like, getting it for Dad. She just walked out the door. She didn't even realize she had it until she was already, like, gone. And she was like, oh, fuck,
But you do it with so much confidence that nobody cares and nobody notices. You just, like, walk in, grab it, walk out.
She ended up going back and told the person, here, I accidentally stole a beer, so here's some money. And they're like, wow, people wouldn't usually do that. She's like, yeah, but I felt terrible. So
there was a guy for a while who was getting away with it. He had a uniform for, like, to look like he was working for, like, Pepsi or like some distributor, and he would walk in with the dolly, get a dolly worth of beer cases, and walk out, and no one would question it. It's supposed to be the other way around, though.
Genius.
Yeah, but
you think he's loading the truck or unloading or getting rid of expired stuff?
Right. It was freaking genius. The dude just walked in like he owned the place, piled up the dolly, and then walked out. And he never hit the same store twice.
I mean, as long as you look confident, I guess eventually somebody was like, didn't the Budweiser guy just come? Like,
right.
How do you
I swear he left like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't he a different color? Am I confused?
But it's like, you really think about it, you never see them come in with an empty dolly, and you never see them leave with a full dolly.
No, you always see them with something
But
on
you
it.
don't pay that much attention.
Yeah. Was he tall? Was he short? Was he a he? I don't know. I saw a dolly with boxes walking by. You just don't. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you do that confidently enough, you could probably get away with it.
I mean, clearly he has. So.
Yeah, he did for a while, but eventually he got caught. Just somebody, it was a cashier that went, wait a second, they bring products.
Why is he putting it back in his truck? I'm confused.
No, he went. The cashier went and washed, loaded him up in the back of his pickup, tossed the dolly in there, got this pickup and drove off. They took a picture of the license plate and sent it to the police, and that was the end of that.
No more free beer for you, Bob.
But I mean, it's like there's not even a delivery truck out there. Just a dude with a pickup truck gets out, pulls the dolly out.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It just shows how much people just pay attention to what they want to.
Right. And about that situation, like, now, especially, like, let's think about abuse and sex trafficking. Let's think about how much sex trafficking happens, especially where I am in Atlanta. Like, we're like the hubbub for it for some reason. I mean,
that in Southern California, because the Mexican border's right freaking there.
Yeah, so think about how much time you spend looking at your phone and not looking and aware of the things that are going on around you. I'm constantly looking at my phone, but I'm also constantly looking to make sure that people are comfortable and things like that. I think another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is a lot of people that have been abused are empaths, like real empaths, like feel other people's feelings and feel like they need to fix somebody else's feelings and wants them to be happy and genuinely cares about other people. So you want them to not feel bad. And narcissists thrive on that. They absolutely thrive on it because they know that they can sink their hooks into you. And as soon as they tell you they feel broken and you're the only thing that fixes them or helps them, you're done. You're trapped in there.
Right. And not to shit on modern technology with everybody on their phones, we are a species that thrives on distraction.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you go looking back at historical photos, newspapers, magazines, books. I used to walk around town reading programming books to learn the programming language while walking around town. Okay, so... Yeah.
But that's why you make the big bucks and I won't.
Oh yeah, I'm making big bucks. Let me tell you, right now I'm making a fat $0 an hour.
So much, man. You're gonna be a millionaire soon.
I have a million zeros. There's just nothing in front of it.
And do you have an allowance? Does your wife allow you to have an allowance and have a credit card, or does she leave you?
Yes and yes. No, we have 2 cars. I have an allowance. As soon as I get my job, what happens is I'll take back on some bills. Like right now, my allowance pays for my credit cards and gives me a little bit of money for myself. When I get my own job, I will pick up a couple more of the household bills. It's where what we wind up is having an even amount of allowance each.
Right. But it's insane. Like once you do that, like once a lot of times in a situation where you've like gone out on leave or something like that, and then somebody talks you into not going back and then gives you all these reasons as to why you shouldn't go back and then holds you back and won't let you go get a job. Like that's a slippery slope too when people do that to other people.
She's pushing me to get a job. Trust me. And I get these little bombs every once in a while of just, hey, check out this job. Hey, check out this job. Hey, check out this job. And a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I'll apply. Some of them are like, honey, did you read the description? Because that said like Houston. I don't know that we want to move to Texas. I mean, Texas isn't all that bad, but our family's here, you know?
Right.
I think it's amazing how many people say now hiring, but they're really not. Like, I know so many people that have gone in for jobs and they've put in so many applications and it says now hiring, but they never get callbacks or anything like that. It's insane right now.
Yeah, a lot of it, too, I think, is that there's a lot of people that are overqualified. And the last time this happened, 2008, they got burned by taking on people that were overqualified because as soon as the economy started recovering, they're like, peace out.
Right. Yeah. Good employees take, bad paying jobs, and then they're like, I can't do this anymore. We're back on an uptick. I'm going to get out of here now.
Like, I was at Kinko's, and I got this job offer to go for a hospital automation company, and I was like, look, make me an assistant manager, give me that kind of pay, and I'll stay. And they're like, well, we don't really have any room for that. Like, well, what about another branch? Like, oh, well, I'm not going to recommend you to another branch. Bye. But we need you here.
No.
If you needed me here, it's like I gave you the right to fight for me. I gave you the ability to say, yes, we want you. Here's, we'll meet your demands or we'll make it work. But
yeah,
you just
I'm out. Peace out.
You just stonewalled me. So guess what? And then another person that I used to work with that also worked at Kinko's, who actually worked at 3 different branches, came to me afterwards, was like, dude, you should have talked to me. I would have got you over at this other branch. I was like, yeah, but I work that branch. It sucks.
I mean, I wanted more money, but I still wanted to be picky about where I was going to go.
Like, there were a number of branches I happily would have gone to, but that one particular branch, oh, hell no. That one was run like a dumpster fire. I was just like, no, I'm in a pretty decent situation here. I have a better job offer there. I'm not going to go jump in a dumpster fire instead.
Yeah, let me not look like a good person after I go to the dumpster fire and it sucks the life out of me, you know?
Yeah. Sure,
And
the
then the
pay is
garbage
great.
water.
Yeah, the pay is great, but I come out smelling like a burnt garbage.
Yeah.
What's this PPP loan conspiracy that May's talking about? I'm going to check that out.
What?
I don't know. So we were talking about, how just the walking out of the store thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And May said, I've done that same thing with emergency. And I had to throw the joke out there. I did that with a home alarm kit once. Ironic, no? Could you imagine walking into the store walking out with an alarm system? Be like, whatever. I mentioned Texas. But Bexy's in Texas. Followed by the PPP loan conspiracy. I'm going to have to look that up.
I just have one, question about how he got away with it. Did the alarms not go off?
What? The guy that did the
Yeah.
alcohol?
Did the alarms not go off?
He only
Did they
went
not
there.
have alarms?
He only went during business hours, and he just took the floor displays.
Okay.
Because the floor displays, they do have to get taken down. But usually when they're taken down, they go into the beer cooler.
Right.
They don't go out the front door.
Oh my
Right.
God. That's great. That's the best thing I've heard all night. What
Wow.
else do you want to know?
Okay, so yeah, I just did PPP loan conspiracy, and holy crap, all the results, nothing but people being charged, people being convicted. Yeah, I'm gonna deep dive that later tonight.
You're like, I still got a long night ahead of me. Got to go PPP longing.
So, CJ, I'm not seeing any questions quite yet.
You don't have to pay back your PPP loan if you, quote, can't find anyone, end quote, to fill your open positions. So it's basically, now hiring. Give me that sweet government money, please.
Yes. Because there's now hiring signs everywhere.
Now, my question is why are you getting paid when you're supposed to be paying for your new employees? You're making money when you shouldn't be at all. That is so backwards.
And people who are trying to recover, I'm sure, justify that every day.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure that there's some out there that I'm still recovering. Wink, wink.
Right. Wink, wink.
I'm sure some are legit.
We are hiring, just not at this, store or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, no. We're hiring. It's a tagline, not an actual thing.
That's our slogan.
Oh, my God. One of my friends today sent me this lady on TikTok. Deadpan humor, absolute deadpan satire, where they redesign company logos.
Oh my
God.
But the funny thing is, as awful as these redesigns are, spelling errors and all, those companies tend to take those logos and put them on TikTok for a while. It's
That's an honor.
It is complete hilarity. I'll have to send you a link. I mean, I watch this and I'm like, please let this be satire, because sometimes it's hard to tell.
Have you seen the Subway one? I don't know if it was actually a Subway commercial or if it's a spoof, but it's can you imagine the Gen Zers? It was on TikTok, but
yes, with the cat mom.
Gen Zers appetite. Yeah, their appetite. The cat's eating the gift. Cat's eating the sub. It's bah, 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 bah.
And that's all eat fresh.
See this.
Oh god, it's so great because it's Gen Z is going to be taking over here soon. Yeah, they're going to be taking over marketing too. Oh god, what are the commercials going to be like? It was
memes.
It was like an existential crisis of an advertisement. It was, but I'm sitting there going, I can't wait for the Gen Z ads. If that's what they're going to be like, bring them on. I'll be entertained as hell. Who needs drugs? Just watch these ads.
It's like Super Bowl commercials every day.
Oh God.
But with almost no budget, which makes it even better.
Right.
And
you
full of memes.
You have to make them entertaining because nobody watches commercials anymore. It's got to be like 15 seconds, go.
Yep.
That's when you have to.
No, there's one that popped up. It's all, you can go ahead and skip this ad, but skip. Like, guess what? I'm going to.
Exactly.
You had 5 seconds to reel me in.
Yes, and you failed.
As soon as you tell me not to skip, I'm gonna skip.
Yeah, that's my ODD kicking in right there.
Okay, bye. Okay, bye.
Bye.
My 5-year-old said that to me tonight. Okay, bye.
Wait, where'd you learn to deliver it that way, kid?
Oh God.
This has been great.
I'm in a much, much better place, and humor definitely helps that. For sure. Having
good
to laugh with and stuff like that definitely helps.
Whoa. May just put out there, a 24-year-old with zero experience asked my dentist for $32 to $40 an hour to be her receptionist. No. You know what receptionists make with no experience? Is this wage? It's kind of minimal.
Oh, do you guys have, what's the minimum wage out in California?
We are slowly creeping up to $15 an hour. Every year it goes up until we hit $15 an hour. I think we're at, let me check. I just want to be accurate.
I find that even in Georgia here, like my son looking for jobs, even fast food jobs, will now pay you between 11 and 15 an hour to be there because they're having to.
We're at $14 an hour now, so next year we'll hit $15 an hour.
And do you guys see prices on everything going up?
Oh yeah,
no? Yeah.
Oh, have you seen the memes about our gas prices?
Oh yeah.
Everybody's gas prices suck so bad. I put my whole thing online and I was like, who are we blaming for this?
Okay.
and then I just popped my popcorn and watched everybody go to war.
I freaking love kicking the hornet's nest with that kind of stuff. Like, to avoid drama in life, don't say anything that's confrontational, like Led Zeppelin sucks. Just leave it there.
Change my mind.
Yeah, watch people don't even say change my mind. Just throw it out there without context and let people just rip the shit out of each other. But no, like, what is right now in your area, a gallon of regular gas is what? Approximately.
Maybe 304.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Y'all.
$4.49 is pretty much our state average, and I have the cheapest gas in the county right around the corner from me, and it's 76. So it's not like it's cheap gas, and it's 419.9. So it's basically 420. Nice.
Funny number. Yeah. I think the highest I've seen was like 459, something around there.
There have been some. There's some.
Go anywhere. How do you? I mean. How?
Wages up here are also really high.
Yeah, but Jesus, like, that's insane for a gallon of gas.
Well, how much do you think a nurse makes in your area? Just as an example.
A nurse?
Yeah.
I don't know. A nurse would be very hard to say. My mom was a nurse for a long time, so I know she made pretty good money, but I don't know what they make out the door. Like out of school and stuff.
Right out of school. In the Sacramento Valley, you're making over $100,000 a year right out the door.
Insane. That's insane.
Well, there's also there's a part of it too that because of Sacramento County, in the Sacramento area, we're kind of a sweet spot because you could commute to the Bay Area, where because everything's insane expensive out there. You make 6 figures a year, and you're still renting a studio apartment in the Bay Area. It's insane. So to prevent people from taking Bay Area jobs and commuting between the two, which I've known people to do it, and it's a long fucking commute, but the wages are worth it, you actually get really close to Bay Area pay, but at a valley cost of living here. Sacramento's kind of a sweet spot like that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of California, right out the door for nurses, you're making close to $100,000 or more.
But you have to afford a place there, like to afford a place in California or New York or places like that. Like the amount of house that you can get here is insane compared to what you can get in California and New York. Like,
Well,
you can
and
get,
also, well, California's so big, it depends on where at in California.
yeah,
Because, like, if you're doing, like, a house out in Truckee, yeah, you're going to get it for pretty cheap and get a good chunk of basically mountain land, because it's just all rocks and trees and shrubs. But you're going to get a pretty good amount for the price. But if you're talking about San Francisco,
yeah,
you're going to pay like $1 million to get a piece of property you could piss across.
right. And that's insane to me. Like, you can get $1 million home here and get, 5 to 7 bedrooms for $1 million, and it's still a big house. It's not.
She's excited.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Literally, in the area that I used to live in near the Bay Area, it was a condo that was like maybe 1 or 2 bedrooms, and it was like $1 million something. It's like, how do you,
Okay, you ready for this? There is a trailer park in Malibu. Trailer park in Malibu.
God.
The land is terraced, so every single trailer home has an oceanfront view. It is the only place in the USA where trailers get equity. They sell for over $1 million. Trailer homes.
Who buys
People that have the money to where they want to buy $1 million home in Malibu, but they can't get a house.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a manufactured homes. Some of them are really nice.
Their manufactured homes now are great compared to what they were. That's like I got obsessed with tiny houses.
I knew you were going to go there.
And I
love tiny things.
I was watching them on, like, HGTV or whatever they're on, and and I was sitting in the bed with my husband. I'm like, do you think once the kids leave, like, we could do a tiny house? Like, do you think we could live like that? He's like, baby, I'll buy you a single wide whenever you want. I was like, you just ruined it for me, because that's what it is. It's a single wide or smaller.
Okay.
Like,
have you seen The Middle?
Parts of it, yeah. A few episodes.
So Sue's like boyfriend, fiance kind of guy wound up buying this house. The thing was basically as wide as an alley and about as long as one too. It was the funniest thing. So Bexy was saying in Texas, gas is $3.05 to $3.36 a gallon. May was saying my daughter complained that her cheap gas in our area, 6 miles away, went from $3.98 a gallon to $4.15 a gallon, whereas our neighbor gas price station hasn't been that cheap in 9 months. And then Bexy also pointed out average nursing pay in Texas is $76,800 a year.
So let's see what average nursing prices is in Georgia.
And Bexy also says, "Oh my God, I love The Middle. I need to learn the Sue Heck happy dance. That is not an easy dance to pull off." CJ's looking.
I'm looking at Indeed to see what it's going to tell me for
Another good one, too, is like the glass door.
Yeah, like Decatur. I'm looking in, like, Atlanta area. I don't think it tells me the price.
And one thing I wanted to mention, too, is like one thing I've noticed about dark humor and how it's like people that have been through the worst have the darkest senses of humor.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really, I think it's a coping and mechanism. It also helps you to be able to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So,
If you're comfortable enough to joke about it.
yeah, you have to be comfortable enough to joke about it, because you can't be serious about it all the time.
Oh.
And, that's like me joking earlier and saying, I'll take one for the team. I mean, most people would be like, oh my God, why are you going to say that? But what's so funny?
What are you laughing at, E?
Bexy just did a quote from The Middle. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So we gave it's like the 2 first kids have like normal names, and then they have Brick, because they wanted to have the interesting name. The kid's a complete weirdo. I love the guy. The actor actually has brittle bone syndrome, so that's about as big as he'll ever get.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wasn't expected to live as long as he did, and I mean, he's great. He is like That whole show was absolutely amazing. Axel was like, their personalities didn't change a ton, but they did have character growth, which is why I think the middle was so good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and it's like with the regular person. The core never changes. But everything outside the core, yeah, that changes.
Yeah, I think people can grow and change. I don't think that anybody is not capable of that. People are capable of it. But it sure does take a lot. And for me, dark humor has pulled me out of a lot of bad spaces. I've had some growth, but I can laugh about it, and stuff like that. But
I'm making Bexy mad right now.
Oh no!
Plus, the dad on the middle was the janitor from Scrubs.
Yes, that's why my husband and I started watching it, because he loves all those shows.
And my reaction, and this is my true reaction towards Scrubs, meh.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into it.
I'm the same way, and he will watch it. I mean, he's probably watched every single episode no less than probably 10 times. I mean, it's just his happy show, and I'm like, could you turn it off, please? I can't listen to Elliot anymore.
My kids, my oldest son, his big show for a very long time was How I Met Your Mother.
I never watched that.
It's entertaining, but it really wasn't my thing.
I haven't watched a sitcom, like a true sitcom, in a good long while. I just started Big Bang Theory.
That was my last sitcom that I really sat and watched. Although I will say, if you get the chance, The Good Place. It's only 3 or 4 seasons, but
that's another one. That's another one that's very good, but it's not sitcom-like.
It's very deep philosophically.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I really like
it. It's philosophy lessons wrapped in comedy.
Yes, which is, again, the humor in it all is awesome.
I'm going to spoil my favorite joke for everybody. You've had long enough to watch it. It's been years. With Ted Danson's character, it's like, wait, that dog doesn't belong here. It's a glitch. And kicks it into the sun. And then the lady walks out. It's like, where'd my dog go? It's like, oh, don't worry. The dog wasn't even real. It's just a construct. Didn't feel anything. My dog wasn't real? Oh, no. Your dog was absolutely real. That scene,
into the sun.
Yeah, that scene sold me on that show. I was giggling and laughing, and then he punts the dog, just full on yeets it to the sun. And I'm like, yep, this is my show.
Obliterated.
Yeah, it's a little weird for a while. And then his character does something, and you're like, I'm in. I'm totally in.
I mean, Ted Danson, not the greatest actor out there, but honestly, nobody on earth could have played that role but him. He was
so well.
Perfect.
Yeah, he was great for that. He wasn't too expressive. He was just expressive enough. He can play a jerk well. He can play a nice guy well. And he was a jerk and a nice guy throughout the whole thing.
And my other favorite joke of the whole thing, the trolley. If anybody, the I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a trolley, a mental exercise.
Yeah.
If there's a trolley, you're in a trolley and you can change the track that it's currently on is going to hit 3 people and kill them, or you can change it and have it only hit and kill 1 person. Do you change it or not? It kind of tells you if you're more utilitarian or more about this is supposed to happen, so it must happen, preordained.
For a reason.
Yeah. So it really kind of tells a little bit about you. Man, the way they did it was fucked up. In all the funniest ways. Seriously, if you you like black humor, this entire show is about some of the darkest humor I'll ever put on television.
Yeah, it's good in a way that you're did they just get away with that?
Yeah. Every week you're like, how the fuck are they going to get out of this one? Like, the writers deliberately cornered themselves every week just so they could get out of it. It was, I mean, seriously, and they ended it so well. Like, that ending was so good. I would say that,
like, what the fuck? Like, it wasn't one of those that ended on a bad note, being so good the whole time and then having a horrible ending. It was really good.
Yeah, it wasn't like the middle finger to the fans, like Game of Thrones, Sopranos. What's up, HBO? No, but I would say that the ending for it was up there for as good as it was for the series that it was. I put it up there with Breaking Bad for how good the ending was.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed with that ending either.
No, I mean, it's like really like how it ended. There were some parts I was just kind of like, really? But then when you think about it, it's like, that was the only ending. There was no other way it could have gone. I mean, it could have gone worse.
Yeah, it was never going back to the way that it was.
That was as good as it could possibly get. That ending was amazing. And same with The Good Place. The way it ended was just, seriously, perfecto. Mm-hmm. That concept at the end was just brilliant.
Yeah, everybody's going to have to go watch it. They're going to have to toggle between Maid and...
Yeah, so you're watching Maid. Maybe you're going to go into Handmaid's Tale because you're really feeling like torturing yourself. And then you need a good laugh, so you go and watch The Good Place because you're in a dark spot and you need a laugh, so dark humor's it.
Yeah. The philosophical parts of the world. You're like, oh my God, I never even thought about that. And now you're like, oh.
Chidi was awesome.
Yes.
Like, he annoyed me initially, but by the end, he was one of my favorites. I mean, I really couldn't pick a favorite because they were all so good. And so, I mean, oh my God. Every character was just so strong. And their development was through the roof. All of them. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best thing is...
Yes, May, you heard the chef's kiss.
Yeah, that whole show is just about how you can be a good person and a bad person and a complacent person and a strong person all at the same time, and it doesn't mean you're good or bad.
Right. It's your life is too complicated to be black and white. Mm-hmm. There's a series coming out on Amazon. I watched the first trailer and like I got chills the entire time. Then I watched the second trailer and I was like, worried. It's The Wheel of Time. As far as the books go, it is really, really good at showing that even the best people have dark parts to them, and even the darkest people have bright spots to them. It is fantastic at that. It's like 13 books. It's a really long series.
Yeah, that's
wow.
Which, now that they're making an Amazon TV series out of it, I mean, there's no way they're going to run it for 13 years. There's just no way. I mean, you can't plan that out. Like, Supernatural ran 15 years. Do you think they planned it that long? Hell no.
No.
Do you think The Simpsons planned to be as long as they have been? God, no. They were probably waiting to be canceled after the first season initially.
I hope that never...
Probably.
I'm sorry. I hope it never...
Right, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, though. They didn't plan to be like that. Now, of course, it's planned to keep them going for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. But... there's a lot that they're rushing through on the TV series, but it makes sense. You have 13 books worth of content that you have to pack into a few seasons. You might get 5 or 6 seasons out of it. But yeah.
If you don't change the books a lot. Like if you...
they've made some massive changes.
Yeah.
But I will say the characters, by and large, for me, are pretty accurate. Like there's like certain, like I look at them, I'm like, oh, that's supposed to be this character. Even if it's not exactly how I imagined them, they're close enough to the description that I just like, oh, that's them. Oh, yeah. That's them. You know, just at a glance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good casting to do that.
Yeah, it is. You got to have a good casting director for stuff like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like if you have the description, like the guy's like 6'7" and like pasty white with like yellow eyes, and you get like this 5'9", dark complexion guy with brown eyes. That shit ain't gonna fly with the fans.
That's like when they redo movies and the cast is completely different looking, and you're like, no way.
I will say that there is a new Ghostbusters movie coming out. I'm excited.
Afterlife. about that. Yeah, my husband was telling me about that. He's excited about it too.
I just saw I saw a quick little trailer 2 days ago, and it took me all of like 5 seconds to go, yep, I'm watching this. This, you know, it's amazing. You get the right cast, you get a good story, you're going to nail it.
Mm-hmm.
And good example, Marvel's The Eternals. Have you seen the reviews about it?
No, but I saw the trailer.
No.
But I haven't. I saw the trailer.
2
I
days
haven't
ago.
seen that.
2 days ago, it was at 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is now at 62% and falling. It is the worst MCU movie to date. And when you watch the interviews, they checked off every single box that you could think of. You have a gay couple with a child. You have every kind of diverse and inclusiveness and everything. But you have 10 characters that you're trying to make you care about in under 3 hours. Good luck. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy did it with like 5 or 6, but that was different. The only box they forgot to check was make a good movie. Like, I literally, it's like for most people out there, I could care less about the diversity part of it. I care about the quality of the movie. If the diversity is there and it's organic, fantastic. All for it. If it feels forced and contrived, and when the cast is talking in interviews and that's the only thing they're talking about, that's usually a bad sign.
They're talking about the diversity of it?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like, they're not talking anything about what the movie's about. As a matter of fact, Kristen Stewart flat out said, I don't even know what the movie's about. And she's in it. She's one of the stars. Flat out said that she wasn't even sure what the movie was about. I'm like, okay, you see, that there's a problem. And I'm not trying to crap on diversity. I'm all for it. But it's got to make sense.
Right.
Yeah, we're pushing some agendas that make sense, but they don't make sense all the time.
I just saw a redheaded thing go walking by behind you.
Me?
Yeah. Walked by and looked at you.
Probably a child, like,
yeah.
What? Because it's 11:15 here. They're probably like, why are you in your office down here in my domain?
Yeah, this is where, yep, Daddy has the podcast, and you're not going to see him from the time he picks you up until it's time for bed. But, you know, this podcast has got to go on. This is a major part of my therapy, to be completely honest. I can't not leave an episode feeling terrible. I mean, feeling good. I always feel good.
Right. It's so cathartic to be able to actually talk to people. And that's the one thing about once you're out and you can talk about it, sharing experiences that were so bad and knowing that things weren't your fault and other people have been through it and thought the same way you did and stuff like that is great too. Anything with mental illness, anything like this, and fighting those demons that you can't get away from. Anytime you can talk about it and feel better about it is a win.
Exactly. And if you're listening and you hear somebody else's story and you're like, holy shit, I'm not alone, that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that first time hearing you. I can't remember if it was the first episode or the second one where you read what you had written.
That was the first episode, that essay.
And I was like, oh, I am hooked, because that is like what it's like to live in my head. And to write it down like that and share that and be vulnerable, it's like, oh, that's,
now
it's the same. And you have to know that.
Now it's like you hear that one song, the singing my whole life with his song. And that's kind of the effect it had that I noticed. It's like, I shared that in a chat group. I wasn't going to share it, but I decided, you know what? I need to get this out. And I shared it. And that was the response. So many people going, get the hell out of my head. Then I read it on the air, first episode, and I got a whole bunch of replies going, get the hell out of my head.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm glad that I took the time and had the strength to actually write that. And I'm glad that that little voice in me told me I need to share it.
See, that little voice in my head would have to scream it, because
Oh God, I was a freaking wreck when I shared it. Are you kidding me?
yeah, I mean, I still have terror about doing anything outside of my comfort zone, because I'm so scared to fail, and for people to tell me that I've failed and I could have done better and stuff like that, because for all the good intentions that there's still a piece of you that like never ever ever wants to be that vulnerable again, to where you feel like you're going to fail at something, because you've already failed in life pretty hard.
Or you're going to get hurt again.
Or you're going to get hurt again. And I constantly, no matter what relationship it is, whether it's friends or family or husband or whatever, I'm going to get hurt again. The shoe is going to drop. And when things happen, it's 10 times worse, because it was 10 times worse before. So the only thing you're thinking about is like how it's going to happen again and stuff like that. The one thing I will say is, I was saying earlier, I'll be 40 in November. And I, about 6 months ago, put out like this, friends in my area, like I wanted to go rent a cabin or go do something for my 40th and have a good time. Well, a lot of people were like, that's too much money, can't do that, da 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 da. So I didn't say anything else. And then my husband planned a trip for us. And
Yay.
Well, nobody's going though. So none of my friends are going. There was one that was going to go, but he pulled out. So I was sitting around feeling bad for myself, because I didn't plan a party here or anything. Like, I'm like, in the last year I've changed so much, because there's been so much else going on, that I don't have a lot of the same friends I had a year ago or 6 months ago and stuff like that. So, and the ones that I do have pretty much ghosted me and don't talk to me for whatever reason or another, that they won't confront you about or whatever. But I was like, you know what? I was in my feels about it, and I cried about it. And then I was like, I could be 39, about to turn 40, going on a wonderful vacation with my best friend, or I could have been dead.
I think you got the right alternative here.
Yeah.
And I think you got the right mentality there.
Right. I was like, I'm living to see 40. Which I didn't always think was going to be possible. So
Bet you were surprised to make 30.
Yes, I was very surprised to make 30, because I got out at 30. So from the time that I was 19 till the time that I was 28, 29, I was lucky to keep my life for probably a good 5 years of that, on and off with abuse and stuff. I was lucky. I mean, I was strangled, I was held at knife point, I was pushed, I was kicked, I was all sorts of things. So
honestly, in the moment, what's the real difference between gunpoint and knife point? It's both a very quick action, and you're dead.
Nothing is different. It's just as scary. It's funny.
Personally, I think I'd rather take the gunpoint, honestly, because that's going to be quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're staring at anything that can kill you, whether it's a fist, a knife, a gun, a plastic bag over your head, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. If you've got 2 minutes to save your life or not. And so I just, I was in my feels, and I was like, oh, I'm so alone, and I don't have any friends. And because there's just been so much change in my life in the last year, that people don't see things the way I do, and I've changed, and I'm a different, like I had one of my best friends tell me, I don't even know who you are anymore. And I was like, because I've changed and grown, and I'm okay with that. And I'm happy with who I am. And if you don't want to be happy for me, that's fine.
Not exactly the kind of friend I thought you were going to be, but hey.
Right. I'm happy with who I am, and that's okay.
So you're basically, you're a misery vampire. Got it.
Yes. I am tired of being that empath that takes on everybody else's shit. I'm finally going to, work on myself and figure out who I am and what I want for myself, and, do things that I would have never done before. I've done things in the past year that I have no more fears. It's amazing the things that I've accomplished in the past year, except I do have fears for doing things for myself. Like we were talking about, like you reading things online and stuff. Like it would take a lot of pushing for somebody to get me to do that and be okay with it and feel like I wasn't going to fail. So I'm very, because I know in the first season, you're like, I don't know if I'll make it through 10. I just want to make it through 10. And then you had another season and another season, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
The things that you've done and the people that you've reached and the co-hosts that you've gathered and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Like, I'm not going to lie. I do miss KZ. We still chat. He's really busy. But at the same time, I got 2 other great co-hosts. And C was the most unexpected one of them all, but my God, I'm so glad that C's part of this. And so just so you guys know, when we're between seasons, we still get together sometimes, and we will do things like where one person's like, I'm going to share something important to me for a couple hours. And then the next one's, I'm going to share something that's important to me. But we're still all helping out. It's like, I'm going to share a movie. And we'll pause it and talk about it and pause it and talk about it. Or I'm going to share music. And then it's like a block of songs by one person. Then here's a song by me. Here's a song by them. And block of, I mean, a TV show. Okay, well, binge some shows. We are really, we're a tight group, the 3 of us.
That's good. That's amazing that you can do that and not.
They're family to me.
Persona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like C is family. Like if C needed to get out and needed a place to stay, my door is wide open. Mm-hmm. Same with Bexy, but Bexy has to bring a brisket. That's just the way it is.
That's the only condition.
The only condition.
Brisket.
Well, if she can't bring a brisket, she can make a brisket.
yeah, exactly.
But there's quite a few comments in here, like when we're talking about how hearing and being able to connect, even though you're not a part of the conversation. Bexy flat out said, I feel awful, but even just listening and being in chat is amazing. May, so
Aww.
true. It feels good to be able to relate to someone else's story in person or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bexy's like, I remember you sharing that, my essay, and then texting me immediately because your anxiety kicked it. Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, it hit 25. Like,
oh, God.
And you thought it wasn't going to be well received. And I replied back almost like I had low self-esteem, which in some areas I really do. In some areas I really don't. It's weird. And then oh my God, the greatest tool I found is the power of perspective, even with myself. Take a step back when I can, or when I am putting myself out there and take a leap of faith. What's the worst that is going to happen? Are you going to lose the job you have? Are you going to be shunned off of existence? Are you going to die?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, once you've been in a situation, whether it was an accident or domestic violence or whatever, if you've ever been right at that point where you could have died, years down the road, your perspective isn't as fresh as that. But sometimes you do have to tell yourself, like, I've been through it all. I know I can get through this. The worst that's going to happen to me is they tell me no.
Yeah, I mean, I attempted
to try again, and I can get up again, and I can do it again. It's just, you don't want to put yourself out there and be vulnerable and get hurt again, whether it's from somebody that you love or somebody that you respect or whatever. But at the end, perspective is everything. And everything's not always a silver lining. But like I said, I had my feels, and I felt bad for myself, and I do feel bad for myself sometimes. And then I just go, you know what? I'm not going to compare it to anything else that I've been through, but it could be, it could have turned out in this way, very possibly, or whatever. And I just need to count my blessings as far as that goes. Like, I do have friends. They may not be able to celebrate with me, but I get to be with my husband, which is who I love to be with. So, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, I could have not been here at all. I could have not been here for my kids. My kids could have not been here. It could have been...
You could have been worm food.
Yes. Exactly.
Although technically you're not worm food because of the amount of embalming that they use, and then they put you in a cement sarcophagus as well. There ain't no worms getting to you.
I'm being cremated, man.
Same.
So, okay, funny story. There's a joke I saw. It says, one of those like the Skeletor uncomfortable facts memes. At some point while you're being cremated, you are perfectly medium rare before you're turned to ash.
Yeah.
My son, who works at a crematorium, called out the lie. You are not a perfect medium well at any point when you're being cremated. You're basically turned to ash on the outside and then move inwards. Like, you're still raw, close to the bone, when you're already turning to ash on the outside. It's that hot.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there is no being cooked to the perfect temperature.
I remember seeing...
But man, that one made me go,
I remember seeing one, it was like, let me just eat some popcorn kernels, and then when they incinerate me, just let it all pop.
I want to have a bunch of M80s in me.
Yeah, like if you know if you're in hospice or something and it's the end, you might as well just
swallow them.
So Bexy also threw out there, you have to learn how to care but not carry. I say this as a fellow empath.
Yeah, I have in the last year learned how to, God, I don't know how to say it without saying, like, I've lost my religion, and that's been hard, and started practicing different things, and made different friends, and run in different circles, and do different things than we did before. And being an empath, I've had to learn, like, I'm not responsible for everybody else's happiness. If they're not having a good time, I can say, are you okay? What can I do? And then I'm done. Like, if you want to be a miserable fuck, go be a miserable fuck over there and let me have a good time and vibe, you know? Like,
Right.
that kind of thing. I'm not going to chase after people to make them feel better anymore. I'm just not going to do it.
And making me, like, get all up in my feels.
Why? What did she say?
Well, to you, I'm glad that you're here. Also, I'm glad that E has had so many great seasons. It's not just me. It's everybody. I'm just a facilitator.
Yeah, but that facilitation, putting it out there and doing it is everything. I mean, everybody along the way that's been your guests and your co-hosts and everything else, we're all very proud to be a part of it, which is great.
Yes.
Like when you ask me back,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So.
Oh, you got to join our Discord.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll send you the link.
Okay, I can only imagine what's on there.
We have an art center where people
Okay.
share photographs, digital art, traditional art, music. Yeah, whatever. If it could be considered art and it could be posted somewhere, we'll take it and we'll post it.
That's awesome.
Damn it, Bexy, now you're going to make me cry. Saying,
no.
you're the reason this podcast exists. You brought us all together.
Yes.
So what am I, glue?
Yeah, you're stuck like glue now.
No, actually, there's one song I think that everyone should listen to. It's a very great song. Even though it was part of the Zootopia soundtrack, Shakira's Try Everything.
Yeah.
Such a great song. That message is absolutely amazing.
I love the
That movie's great.
Oh, yes.
I've seen it so many times. I just want to I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do that. I can't do A Pet's Life.
I have enough ADHD where I can watch movies a dozen times and be like, again.
There are some movies I have like that, like definitely Disney movies and stuff, or like certain movies I can watch over and over and over and over and over and never get tired of. Like
The Matrix.
Harry Potter goes on it. Oh no. No, I'm glad you watched that because I can't.
Fight Club.
Like, I can watch Fight Club over and over and over again, for sure.
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Smells like sex in here.
Like, I love Empire Records and like stuff like all Kevin Smith movies. And,
Oh, God. Clerks 2 is my favorite Kevin Smith movie, hands down.
gosh, I know.
Let me show you Lord of the Rings. It's 3 movies of people just walking.
Like into the mountain it goes.
Just
Okay.
bloop, wave. Have you ever seen the animated GIF about the catapult? Boromir's idea.
I don't know. I don't think so.
It is a really long animated GIF. It's like a 2-minute GIF, but it takes it's just like a single screen, like single frames of the movie with dialogue under it, and Boromir comes up with this idea of using a catapult to launch the ring. And it is one of the funniest damn things I have ever seen.
Again, a link would be appreciated.
Yeah, Bexy's the Big Hero 6, Empire Record Rocks, The Fat Man Walks Alone.
Uh-huh. Yep, the other man saved the Empire, The Fat Man Walks Alone. Who glued these quarters to the floor, man? I don't feel the need to put my heart to you, Warren.
Have you seen Airheads?
Oh, yeah.
That was like one of Adam Sandler's first movies. He had just such a little bit part. Oh, yeah. And like his most memorable line is, I ain't farting on no snare drum. So see, Airheads, it's 3 guys that have a rock band and they want their song played on the air, and they call themselves the Lone Rangers. And they don't catch the irony of it. It's like,
they like take over the radio station and stuff.
And they have what looks like a submachine gun, but it's filled with hot sauce because it's actually a squirt gun that's automatic. It is such a great, stupid slapstick movie. They did get their concert though.
Yeah, you really get those that you have those lines from, like those movies that you just remember always. And then it's those ones like Kevin Smith or Cult Classics or something, and other people, like, they're your people when they understand where the line is coming from when you say something or something like that.
All right, so a really, really great movie. I could watch 1,000,000 times. Pump Up the Volume.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Ooh, great movie with Christian Slater.
Okay, I love
young Christian Slater. One of his earlier movies.
What's it about?
He has a radio that he starts broadcasting. It was supposed to be allowed him to. He was like in Arizona, but he was from New York, and he was trying to communicate with his friends in New York, but couldn't reach. So he just started broadcasting just like a talk show and playing underground New York music. And it starts getting really popular with the high school, and then the FCC comes in and they get all up on his shit. And when they try to track him down, they find his P.O. box, but it's registered to a Chuck U. Farley. Yeah, it is fantastic. And I'm trying
Was that like 1980s Christian Slater?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. When he was a heartthrob. Yeah, man, Christian Slater. He was like
he's still one of my favorite actors.
I don't know what he's been in lately that I've seen. I don't think I've seen him in anything for a while.
Lately, he's been doing like Sky Kid, Sky Academy stuff where he's a like an ancillary character for kids shows. Mm-hmm. But it's still clearly Christian Slater. That voice, unmistakable. Please tell me you've seen Really Bad Things.
Oh, yes.
That was one of his best roles. He was such a shit.
I love when you get those actors that play such horrible shits, but you know that they're probably very good people, or they are so funny in other things, and you're like, I didn't know you had this kind of dynamic for yourself, but okay. But
right?
Christian's always been able to do that.
Oh, found a link. Of course. Reddit.
I'm not surprised.
Me either.
Really, if you're surprised that Reddit has it, you really haven't been paying attention. Yeah. Even though Reddit is not what it used to be, it's still really good. Oh yeah, and Bexy threw it out there too. The soundtrack to Pump Up the Volume is awesome. Tommy, last name, the Gleaming, After Gleaming the Cube. And then there's Wayne's World. Perfect quote from Airheads. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. All right, I just dropped the link in the chat. They actually made it a video, which is good because, damn. It just starts out with him in like the council. Barman's like, what about a catapult? Gandalf, a catapult? Why not hurl the ring into Mordor over Sauron's defenses? It's so good.
Oh my god.
The way it ends, it's dark. It is very dark humor. It's so good. Well, again, thank you for coming back. I'm glad we had more time where we could delve in more questions, go more details, and we could have these tangents and have some fun, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do this again for sure about anything. I mean, not necessarily domestic violence. I mean, anybody who's been through something like this probably has depression or anxiety or PTSD. PTSD is not just for veterans and stuff like that. It's a real thing.
And you don't even have to have your life threatened. You just have to be in long-term, high-stress situations can give you PTSD.
Absolutely. Any kind of trauma like that can definitely do it. But
Like a place that Brandy and I worked at.
Not to put too fine a point on it. That job could easily give someone PTSD. It was awful. Just to give you an idea of how bad it was, and you know how I am about work. I'm usually pretty rah, let's get this done, even if I'm having a shit damn trying to make people laugh and all that. Mm-hmm. Every day I would get to work and I would dry heave in the parking lot from stress before I even went into the building.
I feel like me working, I worked for a company that was contracted to Verizon, and I feel like I still have nightmares about working there. I still have nightmares about working at Verizon and the customers and the stress and everything. Like, I should have like stress pay from that job.
My absolute worst job I ever had, door-to-door alarm sales. I did it for a total of 3 days, and I rage quit. And I mean, I rage quit. So this is San Diego, more inland, August. So I was living in El Cajon. El Cajon, it gets 115 degrees. Easy. During the summertime. It gets hot. So the first day, we went to San Ysidro, which is a border town. Like, you literally, it goes from San Diego to Chula Vista to National City to San Ysidro border. I thought, okay, I'm going to die. Because it's like right on the border. Everyone's going to be up in arms. And you know what? Everyone was cool. Everyone was nice. Didn't make a single sale. And the way this place works is you started at noon and you stayed out until there were no more porch lights on.
Oh.
Second day, we go to Del Mar. Del Mar is rich bitch area. Everybody has money. I thought, God, we're just going to get skunked here too. Everybody was nice. Everybody was polite. Got skunked. Now, I was used to sitting and having office jobs where I sit. And now I'm walking miles and miles a day, carrying a gallon of water with me every day. And the gallon is gone by the end of the day because it's just so freaking warm. And I usually had to get a refill too at some on the first day and the third day. Third day, Lemon Grove, middle class, my people. Had pit bulls released on me, had a shotgun put in my face. And then, because we still got skunked on sales, they made us stay out until almost midnight, and I wanted to just go home, but my car was at the office, and then it was in the van, and I was just done. And then the police pulled us over and had us all sitting on the curb, because now at this point it's past curfew, and we're disturbing people, and they were considering whether or not to arrest us all. And I'm just like, I just want to get the fuck to my car and go home. So we get to the office manager's pissed, and he's all, here's a piece of paper, clipboard, and pencil for everybody. I want you to write down 5 things that you think that you failed on. Circle the top 3, and then on the back, write how you're going to do better on one. I wrote a front and back fuck you letter. This is the biggest fuck you letter I have ever written in my life. I went out the office. I screamed as loud as I could. And this bottle of water, I had just refilled it. It was a full gallon of water. I slammed down as hard as I could, and it bounced over the fence to some other property. Got in my car, peeled out, and left, and I never fucking went back again.
Fair enough.
And just to give you an idea of how much that walking had done to me, for me to turn off my alarm clock, which I had in the living room because I had a bad habit of sleeping through alarms. It was basically my stereo system at full volume. I tried once by putting on a Mexican station, thinking it'd be so alien it'd wake me up. No, it actually got incorporated in my dream. I had to make it something I was familiar with to wake me up. It took me a long time to even walk to the radio to turn it off the third day because my legs were so sore from overuse. It took me an hour of walking to even get a normal stride again, just to warm back up again.
You get the legs not so tight and everything.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't have anything good to say about door-to-door sales. Not a thing. But in case you guys are wondering about the stay-at-home lonely housewives, one guy did, in fact, have that lonely housewife experience in my crew. So yes, it does happen. He went to make a sale, but he closed a totally different kind of deal.
It made the walking worth it.
For him, I'm sure. But at the time I was married, I wouldn't have done it anyway because I'm loyal, I'm faithful. That's just I've been cheated on. I will never cheat.
Right.
I know the pain it causes.
Right.
Sadly, I was married to the person that cheated on me. They didn't cheat on me before at this point. It was later on.
Right.
Yeah. I missed a trip to Disneyland to go walking for miles and have the worst experience of my life.
I would have rage quit then, too.
Yeah.
Miss Disney for this shit.
And I'm not a big fan of Disney, but...
Yep, you'd rather be walking around at Disney than...
Walking around Disney, getting to do the vicarious thing, watching my kids' eyes light up, because all of her favorite princesses are there. Like, the Magic Kingdom really has the magic, and it really does for the right age. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even as an adult, there's some fun rides. Space Mountain was a fucking blast. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's still even up anymore. Matterhorn's fun.
Matterhorn. Yeah.
Thunder Mountain's fun, too. They have a few fun rides. Nothing that goes upside down, but they still have it where it's fun enough. Mm-hmm. Although Space Mountain was, hey, we're turning right. We're turning right. We're turning right. We're turning right. Guess what? We're probably going to turn right. Yep, we're turning right. Oh, we turned left. Nope, now we're turning right again. This is like NASCAR, but reversed. It's still fun because you really can't see the track, so you don't know exactly when the turns are coming, when the dips are coming. That was a fun ride.
Oh, I rode that. We go to Disney World in Florida, and I rode Space Mountain as an adult versus being a teenager, and I was like, this is a lot jerkier than I remember.
Right.
Much fun, that's for sure. My body couldn't handle it. But
so that same girl, when she turned 16, we went to Great America, and we got the Flash passes. We did 17 roller coasters that day, and then we started having heat stroke and had to quit and leave. It used to be called Top Gun. It's now Flight Deck. We did that ride 7 times. A couple of times it was we didn't even have to get off. It's there's no one waiting for this spot? Cool, we stay.
And we go again, and again, and again.
Hell yeah. Fun fact. Let me pull this up again here. Disneyland is 500 acres.
Wow.
Whoa.
Disney World, 25,000 acres.
Oh, wow.
That's 4 parks, it's a lot.
Well, Disneyland, if you add in California Adventure, I mean, you can still... Disneyland's... There's enough to where you could take it all in a day. But if you have to do the California Adventure as well, that's going to take you 2 days.
Yeah.
Disney World, you could probably be there for a week and still missed a lot of shit.
You can be there for a week and miss stuff. I mean, so we took our kids, except for the youngest, because she was 18 months old at the time. So we've taken the 3 older ones. We're there for a week and still could have done things over again and gotten more out of it. But she's 5, about to be 6, so it's that sweet spot time to go back and have fun with her.
Yeah. So we used to have a park out here called Marine World Africa USA. It is now Six Flags Discovery Kingdom.
Okay, that sounds cool.
And it's a lot more roller coasters now than it is, killer whales and dolphins and stuff. They have this one. It's called the Medusa. It is the most relaxing upside-down roller coaster I've ever been on. And I'm not kidding. Like, this is the roller coaster that you bring people on for their first time on a roller coaster. Because it's a mellow roller coaster. You go upside down like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
But it's just like the drop's not super steep. It's not like that one that just pins you to your seat the entire time. We took my daughter's boyfriend on it. The first time he fainted. But then, he was terrified. He was scared to go, but he wanted to show up, with his girlfriend. And, they live on opposite coasts. We're in California. He lives over in the New York area. But then the second time, we're like, no, you don't have to do it again. It's cool. We understand. We're not making fun. We understand. Like, it took me forever to go on a roller coaster my first time. He said, let's do it again. He went the second time, and he had a blast. He is hooked on roller coasters now.
I think once you've gotten through your first one, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and May just put out that was my daughter's first roller coaster. And even Tommy said we had season passes and took the bus to it every day. Yeah, no. Although my favorite of all the theme parks is Magic Mountain that I've been to. Yeah, I mean, it's Magic Mountain. It has the Colossus. It has the Viper. It has, Revolution, the very first roller coaster ever go upside down. It wasn't an elliptical loop either. It was a perfectly circular loop on a wooden roller coaster. And you don't go super fast through it either. It's kind of slow. It is kind of terrifying, but super cool to be able to go on it.
Is it still around?
Yeah. Oh, they'll never tear it down.
Oh my god.
Come on, it's the first upside-down roller coaster. You don't destroy that.
Hey, they've redone almost everything at Six Flags over Georgia. I guess the Cyclone and the Scream Machine are still there, but everything else has been redone, that's for sure.
So, we do have to wrap it up here. We only have about a minute left.
Thank you for having me on again.
Thank you for coming back on.
Absolutely.
I would love to get every one of my guests back on. We got to have some space for new people, too. Otherwise, it'd be the same people every season.
Of course.
Yeah, but no, we definitely would love to get you back again. And you got to come back into the chat, too.
Yeah, I will absolutely come back into the chat. My schedule's about to change soon and all that stuff, so it'll be different. So, yeah, I'll be back in the chat.
All right, so everybody else, like us, follow us, give us a share. Until next week, I'm E.
And I'm C.
And we'll catch you next week.
Hey.
Bye, CJ.
Bye.